I call this meeting to order. Everybody please rise for the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lots of stuff here tonight. Welcome, everybody. Glad you're here. In closed session, the board voted to approve a settlement agreement in a special education dispute regarding OAH case number 20190-70448, resolving all issues in dispute by the following vote: 5 ayes. In closed session, the board took action to approve an amendment termination and immediate suspension notice of the following employee for their position pursuant to Ed Code Section 44951 that was effective July 25th, 2019, and directed the superintendent or designee to send out appropriate legal notice. And that was 5-4. On behalf of the Board of Education, I am pleased, nope, I'm not pleased. Oh. Okay. The board accepted an agreement with Dr. Kindle's resignation. The board voted 4 in favor and 1 against. Trustee Alderson voted against. The resignation includes that the district will buy out 12 months of Dr. Kimball's salary and will allow Dr. Kimball to continue on district health benefits for 1 year as provided for in her employment agreement. Dr. Doyle will outline cost-saving measures this evening to mitigate the financial impact of the buyout. We thank Dr. Kimball for her services and wish her well going forward. Trustees Smithfield, Morton, Vargas, and Alvarado voted in favor, and Trustee Alderson voted against. On behalf of the Board of Education, I am pleased to share the news that in closed session, the board agreed by a vote of 4-1 to appoint Matt Doyle to the position of Superintendent of Schools effective immediately. We are thrilled to have Dr. Doyle's, it sounds good. We are thrilled to have Dr. Doyle's proven leadership, loyalty, and love for our district and deep he's familiar with our school community at the helm. Already he has made some recommendations for talent optimism that we will use reduce costs without compromising our support for students and staff. I will let Dr. Doyle outline these suggested changes in his report to the board in a moment. Trustees Smithfield, Morton, Vargas, and Alvarado voted in favor of this agreement, and trustee Alderson voted against approving this agreement. Okay. So we have the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second it.
Discussion? Student board members?
Just say aye.
All in favor? Student board members? Say aye. Board members? All in-
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We have our student board members are joining us tonight for the first time that we'll get to in a minute, so we kind of have to teach them the ropes. Superintendent comments.
All right, thank you, President Smithfield. Great. Well, it's with great pride and honor that I accept the position of Superintendent of Schools for VUSD Unified. I had the pleasure of serving the students and parents of this community for 29 years. During this time, I had not only been inspired by the incredible quality of students and their capacity to learn, but proud of the dedication and hard work of every teacher, every staff member, and parent that brings to our community every day. Vista is a beautiful place, and Vista Unified School District is an incredible place to work. In order to address the impact of the cost of the buyout agreement with Dr. Kimball, the board and I have agreed to restructuring the administrative positions at the district office. Specifically, we will be eliminating the Assistant Superintendent of Innovation position and incorporating these responsibilities into the superintendent's job duties. I will also work to build the capacity among our district administrators to promote innovation. Additionally, we have eliminated the Director of Communication, folding these duties and responsibilities into the superintendent's overall responsibilities. The superintendent will build the capacity of all district administrators to ensure we deliver the timely and reliable communications to our employees, our parents, and our community. The elimination of these two positions reduces district-level administrative costs immediately by over $400,000. We have used the cost savings of the elimination of the Director of Communication to hire an assistant principal at the elementary school level. The elimination of the Assistant Superintendent of Innovation position will mitigate the impact of the buyout agreement for Dr. Kimball. If you could pull up my announcement. I'd like to move on to recognition for our school district. Last week, a number of members of our school district participated in writing the first edition of our newsletter. And I wanted to just take a moment and refocus our attention on the great work that our students do every day and every year. And in particular, I wanted to just take a minute and talk about our graduates. These are the graduates of June 2019. We actually improved district-wide our graduation rate to over 90%. That's an improvement in 1 year of 4 percentage points. In addition to that, our graduates earned, whether through scholarships or awards, you can see there, over $6.5 million. That's $1 million more than the previous year. In addition, if you look at the map of the country of the United States, each of these universities are representative only of the universities that our students that graduated just a few months ago attend. This is not over multiple years, this is 1 year. We have students going to Stanford, our local universities, Palomar College and Cal State San Marcos, San Diego State University, Montana, MIT on the other side of the country. Down below, Hastings College, Arizona State University. Over 80 colleges our students were admitted to. I make this statement because, as we mentioned in the newsletter, Vista Unified is a strong district with incredible students that are supported by great teachers and staff members, and it's important for us to keep our eye on the most important part of our work, which is how we amplify and elevate the capacity of all students to learn. Thank you. And then I'd like to move on to introducing our student board members. Thank you very much for coming tonight. It's my pleasure to introduce each of you. From Major Raymond General Murray, we have Aaron Littlepaw Gray. I'd like to read a quick paragraph about Aaron. His favorite subject is physical education, and his most important aspiration in the future at the moment is to graduate from a university with a 4-year degree in some field of science. Can you help me welcome Aaron? Thank you, Aaron. Our next student representative is Cesar Sanchez, representing Vista High School. Could you stand, Cesar? Thank you very much. So for Cesar, his favorite subjects are biology and science because they are the most interesting to him. His most important aspiration is to graduate from a four-year university, to land in a good graduate program, and ultimately to work in the medical field. Welcome. Next, we have Marco Ramirez, representing Mission Vista High School. Could you stand up, Marco? Thank you very much. His favorite subject is English. He aspires to graduate with a degree in political science, attend law school, and fulfill his ultimate goal of becoming a judge. Thanks for coming. And I saved the best for last, Susie. Could you stand up? Susana Alacon, representing Rancho Buena Vista High School. Her favorite subjects are English and science, and her most important aspirations for the future are to graduate from a good university and to work in the medical field so she can help people who need medical care. Thank you so much for being on our board. And I am finished.
Welcome. Okay, we have presentation by community members. I have few cards here, so please, when the buzzer goes off, and if you still have something to say, stop. And you can either give us a copy of your speech or send it in the email. Chris might have to turn off the microphone. Only kidding. 3 minutes, and we will start with Bill Faust.
Board members, staff, Superintendent Doyle, congratulations. Student board members, welcome. Nice to have you. I'd like to address you tonight to try and understand how we got to where we are today here in Vista Unified School District. I'm trying to figure out why we have so much uncertainty and ill will. Since this board took over in January of 2019, you have had to continue to work with declining enrollment, budget deficits, and community discontent. All of this while the most important people we should be working with are our students. Our students are not being allowed to succeed. This board had $12.7 million in budget cuts to make in February. Now we stand here tonight with another $19.5 million in budget cuts that are necessary for fiscal year 2020-2021. We are not focusing on what we need to do to help the people that deserve our undivided attention, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is without question the students of Vista Unified School District. Instead of focusing outward towards students, we continue to look inward and focus on ourselves. We worry about superintendent performance. We look to add programs for students when we do not have the funding to keep the programs going. We are all concerned that once again, classified employees will be without jobs in 2020-2021, despite every word the board has told us that you are not looking to make reductions in the classified service. With a current budget that has roughly a percentage of 90% in payroll costs, this board is not willing to make these very difficult decisions. Instead, we continue to see the lack of decision-making by this board and only look at ourselves to blame. Where is the vision in VUSD? Where is the collaboration in VUSD? We, as all stakeholders, including the community and the taxpayers, which I am one, in the city of Vista, are very disappointed in the performance of this school board, and as we stand here tonight, we need to take our district back. We need to work together to find the solutions necessary to make VUSD a great place to learn, innovate, collaborate, and truly succeed in giving our students the opportunity to succeed with their educational goals. In closing, I would like to address you, ladies and gentlemen, and say to you, are you willing to help students? If that indeed is your desire, and as an elected official, I encourage you to get down to business and not focus inward with selfish interests, but to focus outward to the future for our students here in VUSD. We need to let our students know we are doing everything we can for them and not continuing with the status quo. I have a challenge. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, I have a challenge. How many of you in this room are for students of Vista Unified? If you are for students, stand up and be counted. Are you here for students? You should be counted. Board members, take a look. You've got people here that want to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Jayla Garcia. I see on your card, this is about the budget cuts. Wouldn't that go under our budget conversation? Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Doyle and school board members. My name is Shayla Garcia. I am a 14-year-old freshman at Vista High School. When my mom was 14, she was pregnant with me. I cannot imagine having a baby at my age. My grandma was very upset with my mom. My grandma could not help raise me because she worked. My mom enrolled in the teen parent program. Without the help and encouragement of Ms. Bristol and the staff, my mom would not have known how to be a good parent and graduated from high school. I was very loved and cared for by the TPP staff. They taught me my colors, numbers, and how to have fun. My mom has earned her preschool teacher credential and is in college working towards her BA degree. My mom and I are both successful teen parent program graduates. When you sit down and make your budget cuts, I hope you will think about our story and the many other teens and babies that are VUSD successes. The dedication of the teen parents program have saved many teen moms from being dropouts. Please continue to support future students like me. Please keep the teen parent program away from your budget cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. Marie Helgren.
Good evening, school board members, staff, student board members, and Dr. Doyle. My name is Marie Holdman, and I'm here asking questions on behalf of the over 1,100 classified employees of VUSD. I've heard many rumors in the last 2 weeks that the merit system is being targeted for elimination. Let me give you a brief history of the merit system and VUSD. Merit system, also called the civil service systems, have been in government since the 1800s. Since its beginning in 1926, the CSCA has lobbied for merit systems in California schools. And in 1936, the first merit system school in California was established when the Los Angeles School District fired over 2,000 classified employees. In 1965, state law was created to allow classified employees to vote in the merit system. Over 100 districts from all sizes, including elementary, high school, unified, and community college districts, belong to merit system districts. Over 60% of classified employees in California belong to a merit district. The USD became a merit system district before 1986. The merit system is included in the Ed Code, and many of the Ed Code rules are stronger for merit systems than for non-merit districts. In easy terms, the merit system is a method of personal management system that provides efficiency, economy, fairness, and impartiality in the selection, retention, and promotion of classified employees. The system allows for fair and equal treatment without regard to politics, race, color, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, marital status, age, or disability, and with proper regard for individual privacy and constitutional rights. The system provides for equal pay for equal work. Before a classified employee is hired, he must first pass a written test demonstrating knowledge and understanding, but also a verbal interview as well. These results are then tabulated, and a prospective employee is ranked according to these results, ensuring that only the most qualified and competent applicants are given a chance for an interview when a final selection is made by the management of our district. Why would a district want to dispose of a system that promotes fairness, is anti-discrimination, protects its employees, and provides equal pay for equal work is beyond me. Perhaps it is because almost none of you up here have had a single training in the merit system, either by the CSCA or the CSPCA, the California School Personnel Commission Association. How can you even think of dismissing a system that was voted on for the classified, works for the classified, and supports the classified employees of the district? Is beyond me. Are you anti-classified? The motto of the merit system is, it's not who you know, but what you know. The merit system works to protect the classified employees of VUSD. So should you. Thank you.
Zulima Rodriguez. I probably destroyed that first name. Zuleyma.
I'm sorry to say that I'm here very emotional on this topic. I'm here because I heard the teen parent program was up for cuts and moving the child care center. I myself am a teen parent. I came to Vista High School. I am now living in Menifee, and when I heard this, I drove down without a doubt. With the support of the teen parent program, I was able to continue high school. I was a freshman when I came here. I was 14 and pregnant, and I am able to say that I am a graduate from Vista High School very proudly. You know, I was a straight A student my 10th grade year. I had Student of the Year award. I was able to get scholarships. I attended Maricosta College, and I can say that I am the first to graduate college from my family. All because of the support, the encouragement, and the determination that this staff has for us, the students, to be successful and just have a future. Without it, I cannot imagine any parents, any teen parents, what kind of opportunities they're missing out on. If I wasn't supported by them, you know, as much as my family, they have given me so much more education of being a parent, raising my kids, not just having a facility to take care of my kids. They are family. They reached out to me, and I am here in front of you guys because of them. I'm here to support anything that will save them from any more budget cuts that they have already suffered. I cannot say how pleased I am to be a part of the teen parent program family. And if I wasn't for them, I would probably end up, you know, the highest education, the highest career I would ever have would be working retail or fast food. You know, they have brought in so many opportunities, not only to us, but to think broadly and to think of everything that we can achieve. And that's all I have to say for you guys.
Thank you. Mary Ernest.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Doyle, and our brand new student board members. Last March, the board was asked to cut $14.7 million from the budget and only cut 12, leaving 2.83 remaining. Then $5.9 million was added in reductions to pay for the 8-period day at RBV and VHS. Dr. Doyle has stated that the cost could escalate another $2 million. How does this make sense? The cost of the 8-period day is going to come out of everyone else's hide. Our K-8 students will have to take another blow. Our K-8 teachers will have to take another blow. And all of our classified staff will have to bear $5.9 million in deeper cuts than what we would have to suffer without the burden of the 8-period day. It is already beginning. Your list of budget reductions tonight includes eliminating 8 elementary school music teachers. It includes eliminating the wheel, an elementary program. And that is just the beginning of the reductions in programs, supports, and services for our younger students. You have stated that you want to cut people who do not work in the classroom. That means classified workers. That means an increase in already impossible workloads, while the 8-period day increases the number of teachers by 46 and reduces the class sizes to the low 20s. How does this make sense in the middle of a financial crisis? How is this fair for everyone? Included in the list of reductions tonight is combining continuation schools for a savings of $558,000. Last February, closing Alta Vista and having those students attend Murray would have saved us $1.5 million, which you voted against, while staff at Alta could have been used to fill the vacancies created by the retirement incentive, reducing or eliminating the need for layoffs. How did we get from $1.5 million down to $500,000? Are you considering closing Alta or just combining staff? Why did you create a $324,000 financial damage by releasing the superintendent? This is a terrible waste that could have been avoided. CSEA requested that our bus drivers be benefited for all of the hours that they work. We were told no. $324,000 would have provided complete medical coverages and benefits to all of our drivers for 3 years. Your shell game with telling us that the elimination of the assistant superintendent position and the communications position is a shell game. Those reductions were supposed to go towards the $19 million in savings in our budget. Thank you.
Carol Herrera.
It is with real sadness that our beloved superintendent, Linda Kimball, doctor, was placed on leave for no reason other than doing her job. A year and a half ago, this board went through resume upon resume, looking for prospective superintendents, and determined with a unanimous 5-0 vote that she would be our superintendent. Now, we decided she can't be. In 18 months, 14 months really, we make that determination. In fact, in 9 months, you made that determination. This lady spent her days with us with great interest in our schools. She spent her days visiting the schools and working to create an environment that was good for all of our kids. Then the union-backed board took control of the school district. The superintendent could no longer do her job and was treated with very little regard. The new board, the new day philosophy, as the current board president stated, decided that the PLA was going to be the way in which the bond would be implemented. I don't have a problem with the PLA if we had determined that that was the discussion that we were going to have. But it was never brought up at any prior board meeting, even as a discussion item. And this is an insult to the sacred public trust of the citizens of this community. The teachers' union board then decided that the superintendent should be placed on leave without cause. Why? I want to know why. Linda Kimball was instrumental in her year-and-a-half tenure as our superintendent by placing all of students in a much better environment, because she always said, our kids deserve better. This is an alley school. We've got to get our kids into another and better school. During this very productive time, she reached out to the North Coast Church, and they gave 1,000 instruments so that every kid in our district could have an opportunity to become familiar with an instrument or instruments that were of interest to them. For several years, the district had interestingly, we had about 1,000 students who did not read at grade level. This was an ongoing problem. Finally, we got impact teachers in place. Last year, over 300 students successfully completed that program and are reading at grade level. That's 700 that didn't quite make that, but every student in that program made progress. Thank you, impact teachers, and Dr. Kerr, who is no longer with us, and Dr. Kimball, who is no longer with us. Am I finished? Well, you know what, I'm not finished.
Well, Carol, I'm sorry, you can send us your speech, or you can hand us a copy.
Unfortunately, the hostile work environment complaint against the board president was made. Within a matter of days, she was placed on leave without cause. A vote of the board majority does not make it right, just popular and right with this board. Thank you.
John Herrera.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, students, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. My name is John Herrera. I'm a 51-year resident of Vista, property owner for 51 years, taxpayer for 51 years, community activist for 51 years. I'm very concerned. I know that everybody here has a lot of feelings from speakers who have been here before me, I should say. How is everyone feeling right now? I share that with you. I share that deep emotional feeling down to the pit of my gut level. Why? Because I was one of the committee members that worked with Dr. Kimball to pass Prop LL bond for $247 million. In no time was there ever any talk of a PLA. We went to the community with the promise that there would be no PLA enacted by a school board to further tax our community. We went to the Taxpayers Association and we assured them that there would be no PLA, and then we got their positive vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot just tell you how upset this makes me. School board members are elected to care for the education of our youth, of our children, not to advance their individual or their group's agenda for labor, wages. That's the Department of Labor. You want to be an advocate for union labor? Go work for the Department of Labor. Your job, school board members, is to act for the citizens and the children of Vista. Corinne Contreras was right about one thing in one of her statements, public statements, that we're rapidly approaching election season. 77% of the citizens polled in Vista object to a PLA. They're all voters like myself. And I think that you are going to probably experience some of those votes come election time. I'll leave you with my closing thought, that those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the rest of the time.
Jarrett, Y-A-S-U-O-K-A. Sorry, Jarrett.
Good evening. I'm here for 3 different topics, and the first one being the PLA bond. To me, it's a really a bait and switch kind of situation that we encountered here. We were told that it wasn't going to be part of the bond, and then all of a sudden it is now part of the bond. And it's really a disservice to the voters who voted for this. And what they voted for is now being twisted and turned into something else. You know, if you're going to have a PLA, then you should have a good bidding process. That means if there's a project on the bond, it should have a comparison between a union bid and a non-union bid. And that's how you make an evaluation. But I don't know what the criteria was, but if you run a business, you're not going to run a business very long if you don't do the right things, and that would be comparative bidding. So that's a problem. The PLA move is really a slap in the face to the district's own stated values, which are the following: respect, treat all with dignity. 2, trust, having confidence that every decision focuses on the best interest of the students. Collaboration, working in a collective partnership with clear and two-way dialogue that builds relationships among home, school, and the community. And finally, equality, ensuring all students have access to school resources and support to be successful. My next topic concerns the buyout. What I've heard already, combining, if you will, job descriptions, sound good on paper, they're not very practical. You know, these were both full-time positions, and now you're trying to make them part-time positions. And you're not going to get anywhere with this. So it's going to be another slap in the face to our students again, because every time something happens like that, they're the end of the chain. They're the ones that are affected. So you've got to make this right. A decision like that in a budget deficit year is really irresponsible, and it's not really needed. The collaboration portion of your values should have been used. Work together, find a way to get through this. There's always a way to compromise and make something work. But if you don't try, you don't do it, and you go down this route, this is what happens. So we're all going to feel at the end of this. And finally, in 2018, the elections brought on board 2 new board members. And from what I'm understanding, the Vista Teachers Association, if you will, supported and continue to support the existing 2 members that they joined. So now there's basically four board members against 1. I'm going to ask you to finally think. The final subject is there's a rise of dissatisfaction among the community, and their voice will be translated at the ballot box for the children you work for. The community will remember this in the upcoming 2020 elections, where 3 seats will be taken back and the madness stopped. Thank you.
Louisa Stafford.
Well, hello. Dr. Doyle, congratulations. I guess everybody's saying the same thing, so I'm going to read whatever speech I have. My name is Louisa Stafford, and I'm here to represent the students of Vista High. Since 2012, Vista Unified has been on a rise as a school district. Our reputation has emerged as one of the best districts in the county. We resolved the issue with the past superintendent, and Devin Bodishka led us to a new height. How can we have fallen so far so fast? Once the California legislation enacted the Local Control Accountability Fund, teachers' union have attempted to take over school boards. We need parents on a board that have only one thing in mind, our students. The Sweetwater Union High School District is a perfect example. The teacher union took over, and now Sweetwater is $30 million in the red and was taken over by the state. Vista will be next. Our voter will be watching how you handle the budget crisis you have created. The action to remove the superintendent by the majority of the board, resolving a buyout, is ridiculous. If the board felt that we were issue with the superintendent, they should have been resolved and find a way of working together. Spending money this way in the middle of a budget crisis is irresponsible and a gross negligence. How can you justify a buyout when we are facing cuts which reduce programs for children? One board member continued to suggest we cut the music programs. Not only is an ill-advised action, but our school will lose a $30,000 grant in instrument from Save the Music that will benefit all the Vista schools. Also, we stopped the music program, the instrument will have to be returned. Before you make a serious mistake, consider the consequences of your action. While the board language includes a non-committal statement regarding the possible use of the PLA for the bond project, and no time during the bond campaign was the PLA ever included in the discussion, I can tell you that firsthand. I was part of the committee. The City Council, San Diego Taxpayers Association, the California School Employee Association, the Vista Teacher Association were assured that the PLA was not going to be part of the bond building process. The deception by the school board is despicable. The deception bait and switch tactic has created an extraordinary mistrust with the Vista and Oceanside community. The board should ask for bids from union and non-union contractors on the same project and make the comparison public. Only this way we can see if the bids are truly comparable. The Oceanside and Vista community will remember the breach of trust and will make their dissatisfaction known at the ballot box. We hope that our new elected member will overturn. We must make changes to take back our school district and stop the insanity. Thank you.
Anna Cisneros.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am here because I heard that the teen parent program was up for cuts in moving the child care center. So my name is Ana Cisneros. I am class of 2013. I graduated from Vista High School. I became a mom at age 12. This is my son. His name is Jose Cisneros. He is currently attending Rancho Minerva Middle School. And thanks to the teen parent program, I had the support I needed to graduate from high school. They didn't judge me. because I became a parent at a really young age. They did the opposite. They supported me. They helped me get scholarships for me to go to college. They helped me on my last year of high school for my son to get ready to go into kindergarten. He attended Bristol. He had perfect attendance. They showed me to become a responsible parent because I learned that my son, the best way for my son to have education is for him to go to school. He had perfect attendance for 3 years. 3 years while I was going to school, while I was working full time. And he's doing such an awesome job. He when he was in 3rd grade, he was reading at 5th grade level. That's how good. That's the support I had from the teen parent program. That they were always there for me. In my senior year, I was a 3.87 GPA. I had 6 classes. I was working almost full time, and I had a 5-year-old. That's how I knew that's how I know how important was the teen parent program for me. It would affect them if you guys cut the teen parent program, because it's not the teens don't get pregnant just because they decided to get pregnant. You don't know why, if they got pregnant because they wanted to or because they went through a situation that I went through. But thanks to them, I graduated from high school, and I'm proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Regan.
Good evening. There's so many of you up here, you can't see you all the way back there. My name is Mary Regan. I have 3 children. They've all graduated from the Vista Unified School District, and it's been many years since I've really even paid attention to the school district, believe it or not. But recently, when Linda Kimball came to be our superintendent, and she inspired so many people to contribute musical instruments, it really struck me because I grew up in Compton, and I was fortunate enough as a 4th grader to be able to select an instrument to play. I selected what I thought was the xylophone. I actually selected the saxophone. And they told me that I really did not want to play the saxophone. I wanted to play the violin. And so I started my musical education at 4th grade. And Miss Womack, my first teacher, Ralph Metesky, who was the conductor of the community symphony, I was always carried through, all the way through high school with the music program. And so it was with great joy that I helped stamp the cases for the violins with the name of the Vista Unified School District, and to be able to restring those violins for some that did not have the strings on them. And so there was a mention earlier this evening that some of the musical program would be cut. I think that would just be such a horrible thing to happen to this community. Linda Kimball made a commitment when she came to this town, and I saw that commitment in her, and I felt, I don't know her that well, but to me, her commitment was like 4 o'clock in the morning on Monday until 6 o'clock on Friday. And she was our superintendent, and she was here for us those hours. And I think it's really a disgrace that we don't have her, but I hope that the music program is her legacy here. So please keep it. Thank you.
Okay, 10-minute break, guys.
I think our legs, that was it. That's all I could see. We're like, just our legs, me for sure.
Yeah.
See ya. Bye, Ben.
Really? I was shaking my boots. I don't have
Great
balls.
speech. Great speech. I did it. No. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are you taking us?
Yeah. We gotta go for a drink.
Sure thing.
Seriously, when? This lady here is doggone busy.
I know.
All the time.
I know.
I know. But I'm glad you guys are doing.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing more than I'm doing.
It takes all of us. You know? It takes
I know, but it's, I mean, really, this thing is...
by the way.
No?
It's okay. It's just they can hear you. Well, it's just recording. Yeah. It's just
I better not. Good evening, ladies.
well-timed piece of chocolate. Learning how to squash more squash. Did you know good pumpkin pies are made with squash? Maybe it's pumpkin pie farms. Closest cousin is butternut. That's what happens.
Well, I'm happy to be a taste tester. As you go on this, as you continue your pumpkin pie journey.
There you go, as I go
Surely. Or does it have that one on it, maybe?
So you appoint him superintendent, and he's late coming back from break.
Maybe you laugh.
That would be an answer.
Welcome back, Dr. Doyle. Reports from school-related organizations. This is the Teachers Association.
It feels like 2000 or 1999 again, I guess. All right, LCFF. I asked that question of a group of teachers the other night. How many of you know what LCFF means? And I'm hoping everybody sitting in front of me knows what that means. Maybe not so much behind me, but we'll see. That doesn't. Local control funding formula. That's the way the state is giving us our money now. So when we have students show up, we get a certain amount of money per student. For the last 6 to 7 years, we've watched that money increase year after year after year. We've capped out. The golden times are over. We're not getting more money year after year after year anymore. Unless, of course, we get some miracle from the state. Hey, let's keep our fingers crossed, right? We can always be hopeful. But what that also means is that you have hard choices. And I think we're seeing that tonight. Because there is no way that we can continue to increase our spending year after year after year, as we've done for the last 5 or 6 years, to come up with new programs. Now we're entering a time of budget restraint and hard decisions. In that process, despite what I heard tonight about teacher-controlled board, you need to make the right decisions and the hard decisions, but you also need to listen to your teachers. Because for some reason, what I'm hearing from the room tonight is that the teachers are in the classrooms and the teachers' union does not know what it takes to teach students. We are the experts in teaching students. Fortunately, 5 of you have all done that, which makes you experts. But it also means you're not doing that anymore, most of you. We have one teacher in the room. Your voice has experience in it. Please don't forget that. While it would be nice to have some parents on the board, I think we have some parents on the board. Oh yes, teachers are parents. We forget that sometimes. Teachers are community members. This is politics. You are going to have to face the ballot box. But that's why you're there, and that's the brave step you took forward. But we are going to all look at you and hold you accountable. That's also the thing you signed up for. So I wish you luck. Dr. Doyle, welcome aboard. Congratulations. Maybe I should have started with that. Sorry. With that said, good night, good luck, and do the hard job. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. CSEA.
Stand up. I get to come back again. This is cool. Okay. President Smithfield, nice to see you. Dr. Doyle, as always, thank you. Administration, I didn't say hi before. Hi. Nice to see you. And our students are still hanging out. That's cool. Okay, my name is Bill Faust, and I'm the president of California School Employees Association, Chapter 389. My members have wrote this speech, and I'm reading it for them because this is what they believe in. We are here to represent the will of CSEA Chapter 389, 1,200 members strong as stakeholders in Vista Unified School District because we are concerned about the current status of the 1920 budget and recent actions of this Board of Trustees, which we believe will negatively impact the budget and our ability to effectively educate our students for years to come. Recommendations to reduce the strain on our budget were submitted by multiple committees last February, and we have grave concerns about the opposing decisions that were made by you, the Board of Trustees, following the receipt of those recommendations. As the spokesperson speaking on behalf of CSEA Chapter 389, we are requesting that the Board of Trustees revisit, explain, and or rescind the following recent decisions. Revisit the District Budget Advisory Committee recommendations that were presented in February of 2019 and be transparent to all stakeholders about your decisions on those recommendations. Explain why during this dire fiscal crisis the superintendent was placed on administrative leave, a very troubling and expensive decision that was made without the transparency that is expected and deserved by all stakeholders. Rescind the Board of Trustees' decision to add an 8th period day where a projected cost of $5.9 million would benefit only Vista High School and Rancho Buena Vista High School students and cause a direct negative financial impact to our kindergarten through 8th grade students and Vista Unified as a whole. As you are aware, there is a fiscal crisis management report dated August 16th, 2019 that has not been discussed in an open forum or resolved. As stakeholders, we are asking, what actions have you, the Board of Trustees, taken to address the fiscal crisis management report and to strengthen the financial future of our district to avoid being taken over by the state? We are also asking you, the Board of Trustees, to honor the trust given to you when voted into office and to make decisions that are fiscally responsible for our students and their educational future. Thank you, guys. Nice to see you.
Okay, now we have staff reports. California Local Performance Indicator Report.
Good evening, board members, student board members. Steve Davis is going to be with me in the Measurement Monitoring Department to give the report, but I wanted to say a little bit because it's the first official report our student board members have heard. So this is the fun part in terms of where we are as a school district and how we run. Every year, we have to provide, all 1,200 school districts in the state of California have to provide a report in terms of how we are doing related to the Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, and how we are measuring our progress as it relates to state measures and what we call local measures. So if you look at the screen, tonight our focus is a brief report on local measures. And those local measures fall in 4 categories. Basic conditions of schools, you can see them there, implementation of the Common Core state standards, parent engagement and feedback, and then our local climate survey. Next slide. This is just another explanation of our local measures and what we're focusing on. Next slide. So Steve Davis is going to walk you through the measures from a variety of perspectives. We're going to start with climate, and then we're going to end with our implementation of the California Common Core standards.
Thank you, Dr. Doyle, and congratulations. Welcome, board members. I appreciate the time to share this information. This first slide is student responses to our UCSD survey. This is now the 5th year we've conducted this survey, and we have all 5 years of data up there. Let me first orient you to the graph. The students were given a statement, and then they were asked to respond 1 to 6, strongly disagree, to 6, strongly agree. The responses in the area of teacher trust, principal trust, safety, belonging, and school climate are provided up there. The each section of bars is 5 years. The top bar is the oldest, the lowest bar is the latest. So it goes from 2014 to 2018 data. So as you look at the data across the different areas, you can see that 2015, which is the second bar from the top, is kind of the high water mark. But that 2018 is continuing to show an increase that we've been experiencing the last couple of years in virtually every other measure. Safety, I'll note, is 2018 actually is the high bar. So last year, the students over the last 5 years have felt the safest. Next slide. This now looks at the parent responses to our survey. The layout is very much the same. The only thing that I would point out is the scale has changed. And so we zoomed in and are only showing a portion of the scale, 4 to 5.2. So the differences from year to year are going to be exaggerated because we zoomed in on that area. Again, you can see the 2015 tends to be a high watermark, but that again, 2018 is showing an increase that we've been seeing now for the third year in a row for most areas. Next slide. This looks at teacher response. We looked in the areas of leadership, commitment to the school, innovation, school communication, principal, and their fellow teachers. And as we look up here at the data, you can see that 2018 actually declines a little bit over the couple of years before that. And so there's some questions about that that we can look into. But it shows that a little bit of a decline. Next slide. This is the administrative response. This has 6 areas we looked at. Community communication, parent trust, teacher trust, collaboration, district leadership, and the learning climate. Again, a little bit of a decline, except in the area of teacher trust. I'll note that 2018 is definitely a high watermark for teacher trust, that our administration still has strong trust in our teachers. And then the last slide that shows survey results is looking specifically at teacher responses, but specifically as it pertains to Common Core. So the areas we looked at are actions that teachers are taking, the willingness to implement, the expectations, the impact, resources available, and the efficacy. And you can see that the results are very similar throughout the year, with the noted that 2018 is a high watermark in efficacy, which is the actual implementation of the Common Core. So that's an important note. And that's the last of the survey. So the next slide. This actually is just binary. So it's either a yes or no. So our Educational Excellence Department certified that all of our students have adequate instructional materials. Our Human Relations Department certified that all of our teachers are certificated for their assignment. And our Business Services Department certified that all of our facilities are safe and in adequate repair. So next, what we will do with this is, after this board report, we will report these local indicators to the state dashboard, where they will be reported to the public. And we will continue monitoring the climate of the schools and all the stakeholders through the VUSD survey. And then finally, we will continue to use this data to improve our practice from the district clear to the schools. Thank you very much.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Next report, Strategy 5.
Okay, good evening. So I'm here to report on Strategy 5 from our blueprint, and this involves our Human Relations Department. And before I start, I'd like to introduce Elena Reed. Please stand up. Who is our Director of Classified, and Sherry Fernandez as our Certificated Director. And they are here tonight just in case we have some questions from our presentation. Sherry's turned into our induction expert, and Elena, of course, is an expert in her field as well. So any of these questions, we are all here to answer those. So as you know, Strategy 5 is regarding high quality, flexible, and adaptable staff. And we say we will recruit, hire, develop, and retain team members who exemplify our values and ensure our ability to achieve our mission. And we have 3 action plans: quality of our newly hired employees, our employee support and development program that increases retention, and that our Director of Human Relations supports the development of our teachers and leadership teams, principals, and other school leaders. And according to board goal number 1, HR supports that our students, parents, and staff will have equitable access to the conditions of learning by monitoring the teacher credentialing and assignments. Also, according to board goal number 3, our students will be engaged in their learning. And we feel that this is very important under school climate. We provide a lot of support and building the capacity of our site administration and teachers in working with our students and our sites to support that, a positive, safe school environment. So, current progress. There's a lot of stuff up there, and I'm sorry, small print, but we had to pack it all into one slide. So, onboarding for new teachers. We have professional development, focusing around our district initiatives. And during the summer, we meet with our new teachers, and I should say Sherry does a great job planning all those workshops. They include technology, Eureka Math, MTSS, special education, iReady, and personal learning. And then we have online onboarding. So we do a lot of recording workshops that are available for teachers to access through Keenan. And we have a general session, a classroom management, gen ed, special ed relationships, and differentiation were some of them that were offered this year. We do a lot of recruitment and hiring. So this year, I just wanted to give you some stats. For new certificated hires, as of October 1st, we're at 150. Classified probationary hires were 122. Promotions, 42. That number's kind of high because of our retirement incentive. And EdJoin postings. We spent a lot of time going through EdJoin postings, screening, and lots of candidates that apply for our school district. And certificated EdJoin postings, 86. And classified eligibility lists, which involves an entire recruitment, 101 just since July 1st. Classified is very busy filling positions, and I think we've finally slowed down. Fingers crossed. So, VUSD induction. We are proud to provide an induction program. This is unique a lot to North County. Not a lot of districts provide this program for our new teachers. And so we have 60 induction candidates right now, 37 year 1, 23 year 2. We have 39 master teachers. Substitute recruitment continues all year long. We have continuous EdJoin postings, and we have bi-weekly substitute orientations. And I will say, in the past few years, as I ran those orientations, I had many substitutes tell us that they appreciated that time that we spent with them. We provided them classroom management and other professional development. They said they do not receive that in any other district in North County. Okay, next slide. And of course, we have challenges, as with every department, but we have identified ours and we're working on those. And we always have, with specific employee vacancies, we have leaves, we have last minute resignations, we have hard to fill positions. So some of those we've identified here: certificated, hard to fill include math, of course, special ed, the arts, CTE, psychologists, and a few others. Classified, our hardest positions to fill are instructional aides, mostly in the after-school programs. Our department's done a great job on really filling those instructional assistants that are actually in the schools. And so at this time, when it says instructional aides, we're referring to mostly after school, and of course, bus drivers. So as far as recruitment and retention of substitutes, we have quite a few substitutes, and I'll give you some numbers. We have 353 substitutes. We have 236 that are active that have worked since the beginning of the school year. So we have hired 78. At any time, any day, we might have anywhere from 70 to about 130 absences. So really what we're struggling with is filling the day of absences or the day before. We have substitute teachers that are working all over the county, so we're strategizing right now on how do we get them to come to us on that last minute. They like to get those jobs ahead of time. And we know absences happen. People are ill, last minute things. And so this is something that we're working with to come up with some strategies on how we can entice some people to pick up those last minute positions. So that's what we've listed: filling daily absences and so forth. And the professional development for employee group. So this one in our budget, you'll see on the next page, you don't have to go there yet, but you'll see that there's zero funding for this. So we spend time utilizing no-cost programs when they are available, but this plan supports implementation of professional development, which includes training opportunities, in-service conferences, materials, or possibly consultants. So this one has been where we've tried to partner, or we have the challenge of working on that with a zero budget. But we're going to look at that because maybe we can move some funding around in our department and provide funding for that. All right, budget. So our overall LCAP budget is $309,800. So it's broken down by the 3 actions. The first one, recruitment, has $25,300 in that budget. $10,000 is available for special education for classified training. So that's what that $10,000 is earmarked for. $274,500 is our onboarding induction, and there's an amount for professional development in there for some site leaders if we need those. And then Action Plan 3, that's where we have that professional development as 0. And then currently we've only spent $13,368 because, as you know, induction, those are paid through stipends throughout the year, hourly rates. So that's progressive throughout the year. So right now this just reflects the summer hiring and onboarding. Okay. So next steps. So we're going to continue to develop and provide that professional development and training opportunities for classified employees. And we are looking to include other classifications in addition to the IAs from SPED. So Elena has expressed interest in that. So right now that $10,000 goes to instructional assistants. We could possibly fund some more to go into that area as well for other classifications. And we're looking at streamlining. We have streamlined the induction program without taking away the quality of the program. And professional development plan for supporting district goals and student learning. Attending job fairs and actively recruiting for certificated and classified positions for these hard to fill positions. One of the goals that we're going to do this year is create a strategic plan for action step 1 to really utilize the recruitment funds and work on all of those goals for recruitment and hiring. And then also continue to provide onboarding trainings for our new certificated employees through in-person and online opportunities. We feel that onboarding and the induction program is working very well. And that's it. Did I go too fast? Okay.
Anybody have questions?
Yeah, but how much do we pay subs these days?
We pay $120 for the daily rate, $139 for long-term and retirement.
Okay.
Retired subs.
How does that fit within the North County?
It's exactly spot on.
With everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
okay. How many, I know we pay, if we have a retiree that wants to substitute, we pay them the $139.
You pay $139 regardless if it's daily or long-term. Retired?
That are
Retirees?
retiring that are doing that, taking that job?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Well, the reason I asked the question is possibly,
we have quite a few.
Well, possibly a few dollars more there might entice, a little bit more money. I mean, I have to be candid. It's to get me to not play golf and go to work would take a lot more money than $139. But so, you know what I mean? And maybe if we thought about that as paying those retirees, because those are veteran teachers in our district, maybe increasing that piece a little bit might get some more of them to do it. Just a thought.
And we do have quite a few retirees, and they're great, especially at specific sites that they possibly retire from. They're great at filling in those last-minute positions as well.
Do any of our schools have site subs?
Some of the secondary schools do, and the elementaries, in order to get a site sub, you have to guarantee daily work. It comes out of their budget. But they do have preferred subs that will only work at certain sites or that they can call.
Okay. One last question. You mentioned special ed training for aides. Because one of the issues I think that happens, particularly at the elementary level, is the behavioral elements there. And do we have a cost on, for instance, when we take an instructional aide and try to make them a more highly trained person from the standpoint of a behavioral specialist or going to that? Do we know what the cost is associated with it?
No, but I can find out.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting piece to note because I'm afraid $10,000 might not take us very far there.
Well, it doesn't. But in the $10,000, the real focus on that is providing instructional assistance, coach, training with in a co-teaching environment, or just so maybe like CPI training. So with those behavioral supports, and so it's available. And $10,000 isn't very much. Right, I agree.
Right. But we may get some more folks that get those supports because. In those beginning elementary classes, we sometimes don't know that a youngster is going to be a behavioral issue until they're there, and then we don't have somebody trained to work with that child.
I do.
Okay.
when we were talking about budgets in February, I think it was pretty clear that the board gave direction to put the induction to the county, because that saved us the most money. So my question is, why are we still doing it in-house?
Well, induction is negotiable.
It's negotiable where we do it and who's responsible
We
for
have
it?
mentor, so by moving to the county, and I have a lot of information on that, we could do a whole presentation on just induction and the possibilities of moving to the county and the different options that we have. But with moving induction away to the county, you won't save, so we eliminated the coordinator of HR that ran induction, so we eliminated that position. You saved that money. So Sherry Fernandez took on that role. So the additional money that you would save by moving it to the county, in the contract, we pay mentor teachers a specific amount of money. That would be negotiable in order to provide that savings. So if you went to the county, you have the option of the teachers paying for that program. Right now, so they would pay for their mentor teachers. We have in the contract that we pay for the mentor teachers. So that's negotiable. So you won't save any money at that point if we're still paying for mentor teachers. There's several options, including the district paying for mentor teachers, the teachers paying for mentor teachers, and their program.
So here's my frustrations, because we all walked away from that meeting that night with a clear direction. So I understand what you're saying, because we did have the reports on if we kept it, if we did it like you're doing it, and if we did that. And here we are this many months later, just finding out we're still paying for all that. So that was a clear decision by the board through that, and we can go look through the live feed. So I'm just it's just the way we do business. If it's said, it's not like we find a better way, we have to do it the way we ask it to be done.
Okay, that's okay.
You weren't there, so I'm not
It's all good.
saying.
I'll get you the information on moving induction to the county.
Okay. Oh, consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, the staff, or the public request specific items, which we don't have tonight.
Yes, we do. I'd like to pull item 9A.
Okay. Anybody else?
I move to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 9A.
I second it.
All in agreement?
Aye.
Opposed? Student board members? Go ahead, Rich.
9A, the minutes of September 24th, the special board meeting. I can't pull it up on my laptop here, but it says the board placed the superintendent on administrative leave. That needs to be changed to reflect I was not in support of that action, and by saying board, it appears that we all were. So if you want to just put Trustee Alderson was not in support of that or something like that to add to the minutes, that's what I would ask for.
We didn't take a vote on that, Rich. And I think when we talked, help me out here, Matt, I think we talked to legal about this, and they said since there was no vote taken, that's why we didn't report out the votes. It's only when we do the votes like we did tonight.
Well, the minutes need to reflect, because the connotation is the board, meaning all 5 of us. So, and it was clear I was not in agreement with that, so I would just like the
Okay,
minutes to
Chris.
reflect that.
Thank you.
I move to approve with that friendly amendment.
I
With an
second.
amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have board business, so really quick, I want to remind this board that we will talk about our representative on negotiation, so come with your speeches ready next time. Okay, memorandum of understanding by and between the Vista Unified School District and the California School Employee Association and its chapter number 389 regarding a transportation staffing study. Is anybody gonna fill us in, or?
I'm sorry, I was 16A. Oh, sorry. We're already there? Gosh, we are just going on. We are. Okay. I've never gone that fast in between my items. Okay. All right. So, following negotiations this past spring, it was agreed to conduct a study regarding the possibility of creating and maintaining 6-hour minimum positions, route guarantees for bus drivers. So the goal would be to identify if guaranteeing these routes would have a significant impact on the budget, as well as determining if this would help with recruitment of our bus drivers. So routes are created in October, and data will be gathered all year from our Director of Transportation, and this data will be shared with CSEA in March, and the MOU will expire at the end of the year. So at this time, he creates the routes, he sees how many he can create in a 6-hour shift versus having a 4 or a 5-hour shift. And he's kind of keeping data on if he can do it, if he can't do it, why he can't do it, and just gathering that information for the year.
Can you speak to the bill that was signed by Governor Newsom changing start times for high school and how that might impact our busing?
That's a big question.
Well, I mean, as we consider the study and when we need to implement this, it needs to be considered and shared and really, explored.
We could bring that back to you. The
Yeah.
implementation is 2026, year 2026. So
okay,
we could bring that back to you.
$400 a month.
all right, as you were.
Thank you.
Approve, no. That was just a discussion. You're just letting us know what you're doing.
I make a motion to approve the MOU for transportation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Student board members? You can. Okay. Approve amended and restricted facilities use agreement by and between Vista Unified School District and Guajome Park.
So I can go very quickly on the next two items. These are updating and modernizing our facilities MOUs and facilities use agreements with Guajome Charter. They had not been updated for several years, and we wanted to make sure that the appropriate liability insurance and all that fund coverage was updated so that it reflected their use of the facilities and the additional portables that were placed on that property. And then same with the online charter on the next item, also just updating the MOU as well.
Okay, so we need two different motions.
I make a motion to approve and amend the restated facilities use agreement between Guajome Park Academy.
I'll second. Any discussion?
I have a question. How much do we end up paying for Guajome Park? I mean, what is our, one of those buildings is ours, correct?
Yes.
Do they lease it from us? How does that work?
They pay us a use fee, and then we have the 1% oversight that we also receive from them, and I can get those exact dollar amounts for you.
And who's responsible for the building maintenance?
They have been maintaining their own buildings. If there's a major construction or issue, then that would be ours, because we do own the property.
So we own that property?
Yes, we're just renting it to them.
And if they do need major upgrades or facilities, they're communicating because we as a district have approved them as a in-district charter school, correct?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Student board members, I'm so sorry, you guys.
Aye.
Okay, approve the First Amendment to land license.
I make a motion to approve the facilities use agreement by and between Vista Unified School District and Guajoming Learning Center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
C, right? D. Approve First Amendment to land license agreement with Verizon Wireless, LCC, for cell tower at Vista High School.
So this, I'm just going to hang out for the next few items. This is an amendment to their existing cell tower at Vista High School. It's just a minor change to the easement for access by the vendor. So every time we change the easement, we have to do an amendment to the contract.
Amy, this is a revenue source, right?
Yes, we receive $30,000 a year for the solar tower.
And we're not responsible for maintenance in people's homes.
That's the next item.
Approve land license agreement with new singular wireless PCS for the new cell tower at Vista High School.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Student board member?
Aye.
Okay. Approve land lease agreement with New Cellular Wireless, PCS, for new cell tower at Vista High School.
So this would be an additional cell tower that would be located on the Vista High School facilities. This cell tower would additionally also provide bandwidth, internet ability for community members that we would not be responsible for maintaining. You can think of it as the airport Wi-Fi, so it's kind of like log on. If you have access, great. If not, it would not be our staff that would be going out to the communities and the apartment buildings to help them get on the internet. This is, you're okay, Chris. I got your back. This one would also be revenue generating. So in the contract, it would be $30,000 a year revenue that we would receive for the cell tower to be on the facilities. And we would be using XQ grant funds to pay for our equipment that we would then place onto their facilities to provide that internet service to the students and to the community as well in that area.
I make a motion to approve the land lease agreement with the new singular wireless PCS LLC for a new cell tower at Vista High School.
I second.
Student board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Board members?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approve Resolution 2012 opposing California State University proposal requiring 4 years of math and freshman eligibility.
This one is not me. I'm standing here because I have the rest of the items.
Board Member Vargas. All right. So first of all, thank you for bringing this up. So the CSU Board of Trustees is looking at adding an A through G requirement, making math and quantitative reasoning as a 4-year requirement. When I look at this policy, and the target date is for the class of 2026 for our current 7th graders. But when I look at this policy, I don't think we should be forcing another math requirement on our students. This will impact all students that wish to apply to the CSU, and that's a lot of students in California. And so when I think about this, and actually 3 years ago, we decided to remove world history as a requirement for graduation for Vista Unified. The reason for that is we want to provide our students with extra opportunities to take electives, to catch up on a course, to make sure that they are taking classes that they choose to select. And that's also part of the concept that the board wants to move with the NAEP period. They want to give our students an opportunity to have that extra elective. And so adding a mandatory 4-year of math or quantitative reasoning is not in the best interest of our students. And with that, the additional cost that will come with having to hire more math teachers, do we have them in the pipeline at the university system? And so for that, the CSU Board of Trustees is actually voting on this in November. They have already discussed this, but I'm urging this board, and with that, other boards that have weighed in on this, LA Unified, Sacramento, the California School Board Association. There's a list of over 60 community organizations that are opposing this, and I urge this board to support and add their way to make sure that this does not get passed by the CSU Board of Trustees.
I move we approve item 16F.
Second.
Student board members, all in favor? Opposed? Board members?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of municipal finance agreement with Canon Financial Services Incorporated and master services agreement with Cigna Digital Solutions Incorporated for the leasing and maintenance of district-wide multifunction copier for a 5-year.
This one I am very excited to bring finally to the board. I would like to show my appreciation to Cigna and Kevin Lesko, who have spent many, many, many hours, and I appreciate the partnership with Cigna during these negotiations in support of our district needs. And so what you see before you is the contract that we have been negotiating, I think, since my 2nd week on the job. And so very excited to finally bring this to the board for your approval.
I move we approve item 16G.
I second it.
Student board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Board members?
Aye.
Okay. Budget.
So to start with, I want to recap of where we are at. So as we've been discussing the last few months, we do have for the year 20.
I'm sorry. You get to breathe for a minute. I have Rhonda Strange who would like to talk to us first, please. Thank you, Cipriano.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Rhonda Strange. I'm the center lead at the Teen Parent Program. The Teen Parent Program has been in the district for approximately 34 years. In that time, it has served over 2,000 pregnant and parenting students and their children. The idea has been discussed that the district would like to get the child care services to the educational enrichment systems. Currently, EES's VISTA locations do not serve infants. At this time, we are unaware of any other district programs which serve students prenatal through 2 years old. According to the P3 continuum, this population is the most underserved. The unique part of our program is that we start educating these students at the beginning of their pregnancy, teaching them healthy habits and best practices in child care and parenting. Last year, we set out on a journey to complete programs which allowed us to become San Diego Wellness Champions and a breastfeeding-friendly San Diego Center. These accolades required much work and training on the part of our staff to achieve. The trainings have allowed us to educate the students on healthy habits for their young families and offer support and services for those students who choose to breastfeed while attending school. We've been able to partner with many community agencies to offer meaningful experiences for our students. Radies C3 offers the students the opportunity to have their child assessed by their developmental specialists. Free early intervention services are referred if necessary. Vista Community Clinic and North County Lifeline offer ongoing support and education throughout the school year. Resounding Joy has given our students the opportunity to enjoy music class with their children and share a love for the arts at a very early age. These extra services contribute to our students becoming better students, better parents, and contributing members of the community. We promote literacy at an early age. The students are practicing how to read with their children. This is accomplished by educating them on the benefits of reading with children, modeling good reading skills in our classroom, and giving them time and tools to practice their skills and the use of our lending library, where they're encouraged to check out books and puppets. We serve a unique population that is in constant need of support and direction during the school day and even in the evening and on weekends. A 5-minute conversation with a student one day can make a world of difference in whether they show up for school the next day. We were recently notified of the possibility of state funding from the San Diego County Office of Education that is earmarked for teen parent programs. This funding could potentially cover a substantial part of our budget. I thank you guys for the opportunity to speak here tonight.
Thank you. Elise Ortega. I don't think I said, did I say that right, Elise? Ortegon.
Good evening. My name is Elise Ortegon. I am the Outreach Liaison for the Teen Parent Program. EES's clients pay for child care through subsidized care by the state. The majority of our students don't qualify for this subsidized care for multiple reasons, one being that they are not 18 years old yet, and you have to be 18 in order to open a case. They do not have the means to pay out of pocket for child care. The Teen Parent Program consistently has new students coming in throughout the school year. There are many new babies starting school at any given time. How will EES ensure that there will always be spots available throughout the year for our students? I work closely with the school staff throughout the district. When I am notified of a new pregnant or parenting student who expresses interest in being in the program, I meet with them within 24 hours. When a staff member from any school calls with one of our students having any type of issue, I am able to go to the site and assist them in any way possible. We provide personalized everyday counseling for teen parents. At this time, we have 40 students at 40 different schools that we check in with every day. When these students are missing from school, we are calling and finding out where they are. I also conduct home visits when necessary. If the program doesn't exist anymore, who will check up on these students, making sure they attend school? We are not just child care staff to these students or a building where they drop off their children. We are their extended family and support system. We help them in all areas of life with things such as family relationship, partner relationships, school assignments, housing, job applications, and the list goes on. Many of our students have experienced trauma in some form. Taking away a program in place that they consider to be a second home and family would have serious impact on our students. I have worked for the program for 12 years. This is not just a job for me or my fellow coworkers. This is a career. We all take great pride in the success of each and every student. The program is not just about childcare and not just about taking care of the teens, but all of us working together to ensure that 2 generations have an opportunity to be successful. I understand you have a difficult decision ahead of you, and I hope you will take into consideration how much of an impact this will have on 2 generations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Cecilia Vargas.
Good evening, board members and audience. It is my honor to come before you tonight to speak on behalf of the Vista Unified School District Teen Parent Program. My name is Cecilia Vargas, and I have been employed as a TPP childcare teacher for 21 years. In that time, I have been the other mother to many teens and their babies. It has been a blessing to do something I enjoy. It has been a labor of love. I was devastated when I heard the program was on the list of possible cuts. The program serves as a safe place for each student and their babies. Their stories are many and their issues are all different, but the one true goal is to help all teen parents graduate. Before shutting down Vista High, we were able to brag of 14 straight years of every eligible teen parent graduating. As you well know, that is due to the encouragement and determination of the teens and their staff. We are a family, and it is that strong team effort that keeps the students strong. These young teens are warriors. They come to school with their babies fed, homework done, and makeup on. They may have only one eye open due to fussy babies at night, but they are at school wanting to graduate. I am frustrated that the budget cuts will impact students, and every one of us understands the tough decisions that lay before you. As a school board, you have always been there for us. We hope is that the program continues to thrive and offers each and every student the opportunity to be successful adults and great parents. Their children are our future Vista Unified School District graduates. Let's continue to give them an awesome foundation to be successful students. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Shackelford, your turn.
So to recap where we currently are, so we are sitting at a $19.2 million deficit for the year 2021. Within that $19 million, we included in that is the 8-period day of $5.9 million, and so without the 8-period day, that would be $13.3 million. So that's the total of the $19 million budget challenge we have for next year. As far as the timeline, the county is still expecting us to provide a list of solutions at first interim. And so first interim, to back up into the publishing of the agenda, we would need to be done approximately around December 1st so that we can incorporate it into the multi-year projection that is included in the first interim reporting package. Last month we started to build this list that you see here today. There should be a version that has the dollar amounts included. We've updated the
Dollar amounts are on the online.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we started our discussions in August. We had our 45-day budget presentation that we did at the August board meeting. When we approved the budget for 1920, there was a shortfall in the reserves of $1.9 million. With the 45-day, we did receive additional $2.9 million of revenues, and so that helped address the shortfall for 1920. Also in that August board meeting, we did cover the FICMAT report, and some of those items we have had continuing discussions, and staff is still looking at some of those recommendations. Some of them you do see here on the list, whether it might be this year consideration or next year's consideration. So as last month in September, we started building the list of solution potentials. And so there are some items that we have been able to quantify or estimate. And so you'll see those dollars that have been added. There are some that we are looking at from a process or procedures perspective, and so not yet quantifiable. And then we've designated which ones are negotiable. We've also added, if we had consensus on those ideas, to continue those discussions. And then at the end of the list, you'll see some revenue ideas for 2021. And we've listed those dollars as well. And where it's revenue impacting, because we couldn't yet quantify how many students would be the potential, we at least listed what the cost per ADA that we would be receiving in the year 2021. And so with that, we wanted to continue the discussion of the solution list and next steps with the board. And so I want to turn it back to the board for comments and discussion.
Okay, so before we start this, we have finally, after many months of asking for us to actually sit and make cuts, we are able to do that, so thank you. 19 million, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna feel like it's personal sometimes, but it has to be done. And if we put that student first, that's what we build around, and that is where we need to look at what the students need to continue growing just as our friend said this morning from CS, this morning, we haven't been here that long. We're here for the kids, and that's how we will look upon our cuts. I believe we all agree to that, so thank you. And I just want to remind everybody, it's going to be hurtful. That being said, anybody would like to start?
How are we going to do this? I mean, we brainstormed some ideas at the last meeting, but what are the protocols for us tonight? I mean, we had items with consensus, and so we just give direction now.
Yeah, last time you met, you had consensus, but we didn't identify the dollar amount or the impact of it. So tonight, the difference is now you know which areas that you identified for consensus, and now you have an idea, at least in some of the areas, how much money or the fiscal impact it would have.
In addition, before we dive into the actual numbers and the items, I'd like to request that we have additional meetings as board members, because we have one meeting in November, and I don't think that does justice to the budget cuts, our community, our teachers, staff, and our students. And so recommending that we have additional, at least two to three more meetings, Dr. Doyle. Make sure that we get input from our stakeholders and that we communicate in a transparent manner. This board is not opposed to that. I want to make sure that we have that information and that dialogue back and forth. But as President Rosemary mentioned, it's going to be tough and it's going to be felt across the district. But I know that, when I was a student in 2008, we went through this, correct, Dr. Doyle? And so I'm confident that we will be able to manage.
And then before you started, we actually have some dates we anticipated you may ask us for additional meetings that we'd like to share with you when you get to item 18 on the agenda, board business.
Okay, so basically, we can go down this list. I think we need to start now. So Dr. Doyle, can you answer some questions for me? So when I go down the list, and I think some of these, yes, it's going to involve people, cutting of programs, restructuring. Okay, let me back up. We have still to have $2 million that we have to cut, that we haven't been able to cut.
So what is currently in the budget right now is there's a high-level adjustment for anticipated carryover of $4 million and a temporary loan of $1.4 million. And so we have implemented a spending freeze. We did that back in September to help bring that to fruition. And so we are analyzing that. In addition, we just posted with September payroll, and so we're also now able to go in and we're reconciling the budget that was developed based on the hiring now that we've got everyone in place. And so we're continuing those efforts in the month of October. But yes, we do need to address the $4 million and the $1.4 million this year.
Okay, so this is where we always kind of like, we had committee meetings from all of our stakeholders for that money. So I would like for us to figure that out, and then as we go to the 19 million, we have our meeting set up for that. We have our stakeholder meetings so we can get their input, but we still have unfinished business that should have been finished months ago.
And we do have items that are listed for that could be implemented in 1920. But yes, the majority of the solutions are listed for 2021.
So the instructional days and the professional development are out of our hands right now, and the district office for holidays until, are we negotiating them right now? I guess I should know that, right? Okay. And that's all we can do right now?
What about the energy saving? I know my employer has been really successful with having that energy program, and I think we need to be more proactive and do that here.
Yeah, so we've reached out to a few firms that do that type of work, and so they're looking, we're looking at bringing them in to meet to see what options there are that they could assist us with that. One of our challenges is going to be with the solar. So the solar is scheduled to be turned up in January, and so you don't want to be double counting potential energy savings with the solar coming in, and then if any programs implemented by an energy manager and also involve electricity, we don't want to make sure we're not overly ambitious in those electrical savings. But we do have already in the budget $400,000 for a half year of solar savings, and so once that system's up and running January, February, then we'll be able to start assessing if there's additional savings above that 400,000, and we'll continue to be looking at the energy manager function starting now, because that one we can do right now, and we're working on that one. Our budget for electricity is $4 million currently in this year's budget, so we're hoping to get significant savings between these two efforts from that budget.
So if we gave this list the last time, and obviously things have changed, so if for things for now, we can also, can you explain that to me, Matt?
Sure. So the list you're looking at for 2019-20, so the top of page 271, just to make sure we're all on the same page, that's the list that was identified by the board when they met earlier in September. So there are likely other areas that we potentially could cut during this current school year, and those areas would then be identified by the board members at the next meeting that you said, for which Board Member Vargas asked additional meetings. And we can bring information back to you that could contribute to your conversation about what other possible areas we could cut this current school year.
And
the list you have in front of you now, just to reiterate, is the list that this board developed at the previous board meeting.
Just as clarification of the process, if there are items that are impacted with the LCAP, that the LCAP was something that we will also need to bring back with a revision so that we can have those adjusted budget numbers in the LCAP.
And we need to redo the LCAP. Okay, so if we start with this list first, and then we decide what we want to bring back, and are we only talking about the here and now, or are we talking about next year's tonight?
Well, I think the conversation right now is on the 2019-20, but just below that on the same page, you can shift to 2020-21.
Right. And so one other thing to point out is anything that is implemented in 1920, we have what's called a compound effect. So if you save the money this year, that also helps your 2021, because any reductions this year reduces our expenditures next in the 2021 and 21-22. So you've got that added benefit. So the earlier you make those reductions, the more savings you will have in the out years. And so we're still looking at a potential $10 million reduction in 21-22. So again, any progress we make this year, you get double that in 2021 and triple that in 21-22, because you're growing that ending fund balance to help reduce those deficits in the out years.
So could we make mid-year cuts right now, and that would help the following year, correct?
That would count towards the 19 million as well.
Okay.
Well, I just think if we have consensus on it, then, we need to put the wheels in motion for those items, whether they're items that need to be negotiated with the employee groups, and do so. But I mean, there were several things that a majority of the board agreed on, and I think we need to put those into place for 1920.
Are you talking about the top list, or?
Yes, 1920. The things like closing the district office during, holidays. Yeah, everything we have on there.
So we can, Dr. Doyle, the restructuring, looking at the span of control and restructuring, we can begin that ASAP?
We can have internal conversations and bring back the impacts and effects, if that's what you're asking for. Yes, we can bring that back to you.
So since we already made a consensus, do we need to do a vote?
I think you should do a vote on each particular item you want us to look into.
So I make a motion that the team begin to look at the restructuring and the span of control and bring us that information back at our next meeting.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? protocols to reduce legal. I think that's another area we need to sit with them, and I've been using them, but to sit with them and sorry, to figure out how we can cut some costs. And we've already had some of those discussions, but maybe we can make them in concrete.
And I know that we did a request for a proposal for the law firms. We selected or decided to bring back F3. And part of the board request was to have that conversation as part of the interview process, so that we don't have to pay legal fees, but part of the interview process. So not sure if that's happening, but the conversation being framed as how do we reduce costs, knowing that they know we're in budget cuts, and so looking at the policies that we can implement.
So just for clarification, you're referring to the same thing that Ms. Smithfield was referring to, develop some protocols and bring it back to the board for reducing
with
costs?
the F3 in specific.
Yes.
Yeah. Got it.
Amy, we've got not quite $3 million on here from professional development and instructional days. I mean, those look like, I don't know, it's hard to know what that energy savings is going to be. I mean, that's kind of a shot in the dark, but we got two big numbers on this chart we have right now. I mean, what's the difficulty in this whole piece is what that amounts to is a salary cut for employees in a sense, because those days become eliminated, that money doesn't get spent on salary. And I realize it's negotiable, but we're kind of at the point here where there's not a lot of, we don't have a lot of other options in a sense of saying, well, there's some money that we haven't illustrated here that we have forgotten about, I mean, I don't know, and Rachel, this involves you in the sense from the negotiation standpoint, but I don't see another.
Yeah, the challenge that we have is our 1920 budget, we're at 90% wages and salary.
Right, no, I understand. Yeah.
So there's not a lot of non-personnel to look at.
Well, and I think the other thing we have to recognize, and as we look at this with that part of it is, unless we experience some more significant declining enrollment, teachers go with kids. So there's not necessarily, if we end up with the same number of students, we basically end up with the same number of teachers in a sense. And so then the personnel cuts have to be in other places. And unfortunately that becomes, support staffs and assistant principals and, other folks in that regard, because that's the only place you can gain that money.
And from a timing perspective, our enrollment, we are currently up in our enrollment. Our elementary is almost 300 students above what was included in the budget. However, we don't have our what's called P1 reporting period doesn't happen until December. And then P2, which is reported in April, is what determines our final funding. And so from a timing perspective, we're a little off because we can't wait until April to find out if those 300 students stay or not.
Well, then the likelihood seems that when we roll into March, we're going to have to do a reduction in force notification just to be on the safe side then. Would that be correct?
Yes.
And then, Amy, I had asked you, but I don't think I ever got the specific questions. You had given us the salary sheet. And then I had said, oh, could we put this on an Excel sheet, because I wanted to add things to this salaries and hiring protocols, like, how much education, how much experience, because it seems like we were bringing people in without that, and they were being bought in by exorbitant salaries without experience. So when we have this here, look at salaries and hiring protocol. So that's my explanation in case you didn't understand what I was talking about.
Looking, a spreadsheet that provides actual salaries by person or by position?
No. It was, kind of.
Or the salary schedules that show by step.
You gave us the paper on salaries, remember that?
Yes, so the budget by position.
And that, remember, we said it didn't sit well. And so I will get you those questions in writing. I apologize. And if we could get them on a spreadsheet for our next meeting or the next one after that.
Can I ask Rachel, we, in our contract with the teachers, is it 10 years? We can award 10 years of salary credit? Up to 10 years, but that's an optional piece that we have a choice to do?
You can hire with less experience, but you have to give what they have experience for.
No, I understand, that's my question is, if someone has 10 years experience, then we would have to allocate them the 10 years experience. So it would seem that the charge from this standpoint, Rosemary, help me if I'm missing this, but the charge would be that what we're going to look for is we're going to look for basically, first or second year teachers in a sense.
I wasn't talking just about teachers. I was talking about every single position in this district. Every single. If you look through that paper with a fine-tooth comb, you will say, we need to look at every single position.
Well, that's not my question. The question is the hiring process. I realize there are people on there that are we have a salary schedule for everything except the cabinet. So everybody's got a salary schedule.
Cabinet
So
has a salary schedule as well. It's just
well, but
enforced them.
you know what I mean. It's a different sense. So if we hire someone as a instructional aide, I don't know how much experience is considered in that.
So the Personnel Commission has a process for advanced step placement. Per contract and Personnel Commission rules, the highest step we can place anybody at the time of hire is step 3. There's a difference for classified management that's negotiated again based on their experience and education that's over and above the requirements for the position.
No, that's what I mean. In other words, as we do the hiring, there are some limitations that we have based on the Personnel Commission, but also with teachers, the only place I think that changes is often, I know, especially principals are often brought in at different salaries.
And so also to clarify, the budget was developed either based on who that incumbent was back in May when the budget was developed, or an average salary if it was vacant. And so what's occurred from budget adoption and when I talked earlier about September payroll, now that we know who's been hired, we need to go back and reconcile the budget. So you might see a line item that says $100,000 for assistant soup of business, but now that you've actually hired someone, that assistant soup of business might actually make $104,000 or $96,000. So we need to do the true up of, do we have enough budget for everyone that we've hired, plus or minus? And so if we hired everyone at a lower salary than the average that we budgeted, that's a good thing, because then those salary savings help fix the issue that we have for 1920. If folks came in higher than the average salary, then could also impact our budget for this year as well. And so that's the work that we're doing in October, because now that September is typically the first full payroll that hits for districts, because we do a lot of hiring in August and September. And so now that we've got the majority of the folks hired and salary and encumbered, now we can start doing that salary analysis. There's still a little bit of hiring going on in October, but the majority of it is typically completed in September. And so from what I provided in August is going to give you what's in the budget, not necessarily what the incumbent is being paid. And that's what we're still a work in progress, truing up.
I'll keep going if you want me to keep going down the list.
But we need to vote on every single thing and go in order, because I feel like we're going back and forth.
We voted for legal. Yeah.
No.
Oh, we didn't. Oh. Fire me.
I move to approve to reduce legal.
Second.
Or protocols to reduce legal, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board member down there, student board member.
Last man standing.
I don't know if we want to make a motion on this salary protocol, if we want to look at it more first and figure it out, if it is something that's a mess anymore. Okay, how about the city review for using this room at an unbelievable amount of money?
How much is it?
So the clarification, the research that I've done, the contract that was brought forward was for SROs. It was not for the use of the community. We have a facilities use agreement with the city that allows us to use this room, I think it's once a month, 12 times a year, and then it comes with 200 hours of reciprocal facility use of different facilities. So, yes. It's okay.
Did we talk about the professional development, negotiating that?
Well, we don't talk about negotiations in open session.
Oh, okay.
So I believe they're already discussing that in negotiations, right, Rachel? The instructional days? And how about the district office during holidays?
That would affect classified staff.
Right,
That is not.
but it's negotiable.
It's definitely negotiable.
So we're
If
asked,
you're shutting down and having them not work, that's negotiable. If you're shutting down and having them have an alternative place to work, that's a different story.
so do we want to ask them to negotiate that?
Well, Rachel, let me ask a question though. We've committed to those folks, they have a work year, right? So if they don't work during that time, they're going to, and it's not a furlough. I know a lot of folks take vacation time at that point. I mean, from a salary standpoint, it doesn't seem to me like we save any money.
I think the only savings you save is actually closing down the office and not.
I mean, it's like electrical costs and that kind of stuff. I mean,
You would save potential utilities costs, and then at the end of the year, if there's any potential vacation payouts that may generate because they didn't use all their vacation, if they're using it during the holidays, it may lower your vacation payout. But the majority of vacation payouts are typically your 10 and 11-month employees, not your 12-month employees.
correct.
So can we just get numbers on that anyway to see if it's even worth talking about?
Don't get me wrong, I think we gotta look at every single item. I just don't, it's not gonna generate a lot of salary savings because,
Well, you can't force people to take it.
but no, I understand, yeah.
No, but so I was more looking at it as like we're cutting the work year for, if we do 2 instructional days, this would just be more of a cutting of the work year for a different group of people.
We have 2 more days in other school districts, right? So, I mean, the list is small. We need to make decisions. And I don't know how much longer we can wait for 1920.
But we can't decide on negotiation items, Martha. They have to be done behind closed doors. But we can ask them to keep negotiating.
Yeah, I understand that. I just feel like, we're wavering, or not wavering. It just seems like the discussion is circular. Yes, I understand we have employee groups. They have to agree or disagree or come up with a compromise, or I understand that. I just want conversations taking place.
So basically, at the next meeting, these things that we're asking, like that week and stuff, we would like information on that because we have to get going. So I'd like to talk about the wheel because I've been talking about this since last year and the teachers on special assignment. And when I look at the new hires and all the teachers, just teachers at elementary, not prep teachers, just teachers in the classroom. We had enough, I think, to put every one of those TOSAs back in the classroom. So this year we're paying for the TOSAs to still be out and the temporary teachers to teach in the classroom. And that was brought up and asked, agreed upon. And so here we are in the middle of a year. I don't know if we can remedy that now and come up with solutions. Okay, but we can't bring anybody else in. that it is unfair to them and it is wrong for what this board has directed this district to do. We had said the TOSAs go in, and then when we talked in the summer, we talked about that wheel and how we cannot sustain it and stop bringing new people in to the classrooms and start putting those wheel teachers that have the credential back into those elementary positions. And we haven't done that, so now we're paying teachers' salaries for the wheel and teachers' salaries to fill in those classroom spaces. That I think we need to look at immediately because, like I said, 19 million is going to hurt. And
I agree. I think we need to look at possibly cutting the wheel in the middle of the year to help a little bit, but that's kind of a luxury right now, and we don't have money to spend on a luxury.
Rachel, how many temporary teachers do we have? Okay, so we have, how many teachers are involved in the wheel?
16.
I'm sorry?
16.
Okay, so basically we could take 16 of the temporary teachers and give them notification that they're there, and we could move those teachers out of the wheel into those jobs, correct?
So are we discussing eliminating the wheel mid-year or just?
I think so.
back the wheel?
Yeah. So the only teachers you can let go are those that are on a temporary contract.
I'll need to.
Huh?
I'll need to look into the procedures for that.
Okay.
But we can bring that information back
Right,
and see
yeah.
if it's possible.
I mean,
We understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Basically, you're saying for 1920 school year,
no.
this current school year.
We're saying ASAP, maybe the second half of the year, let's do what we were supposed to do in the beginning of this school year. Start putting the wheel teachers back in there. We are spending money we don't have.
Understood. We'll bring back the details so that you guys can make a final decision about what that will look like.
Do you want to make a final decision now, or?
What would be the budget number on that approximate, Rachel, Amy? What would be the number on that 16 teachers FTE, like the amount?
It's approximately $500,000. Yeah. Yeah, the
That would
million that's
be for
enlisted in
this year.
2021 is for a full year, so if we're looking at reducing a half year, that would be approximately half of that million.
And how about the magnet school money? A little bit, maybe.
Reduction by 10%, that one?
Yeah, so what's in the budget is $3 million. That's the 15% allocation that goes to the magnet schools. And so reducing that allocation by 10% would be $300,000. If it's 20%, it would be $600,000. 30%, $900,000. So this is a data point for discussion purposes. So the total budget is $3 million.
Would the magnet schools be able to maintain their programs with that amount, with 10% reduction?
I did have a conversation with all the magnet school principals, and while it's tough to make a cut like that, they did indicate that they can make it work, yes.
For a little while. So I would like to make a motion.
Real quick on that, so you talked about the 10%. What about a range from 10 to 30%? A range from 10 to 30%, but redirecting to have discussion and see where, if we can get to 15%, great. But having that range in there.
Yeah, I can't, I had the conversation about 10. I have not had a conversation with them about anything larger than that. I could, if you'd like me to, I could have that conversation. But I did have the conversation about 10%.
Yes. So.
And Amy, that's not any personnel, right? That's,
It includes positions.
could be. So we'd have to do notifications on that.
Yep. If it went over 10, my guess would be then you would start to move into personnel, but we could check on it for you.
Could that be a mid-year cut, or?
Yes.
If it was non-personnel, yes, because we have the spending freeze already, and so anything that is not a student supply is currently either has to go through review for approval, and so those magnet non-personnel dollars are currently going through that spending freeze.
But the budget's already been frozen for them anyway.
They are able to submit requests. So if they do have student supplies, we can't freeze the budget totally because that would require us to sweep the dollars because they do need supplies in the classrooms. And so that's why we have not taken the budget. We've done the spending freeze so that we review all the requests that come in. And if it's for something that's not student facing, then we have not been approving those.
So just to be clear, as we speak about spending freezes, we are not cutting money for school supplies in any classroom. We are not. And I want to be clear, we gave direction last year. There was a memo and a letter sent out to principals so that there could be consistency in what was being approved and what was being rejected. So just to be clear, we are not cutting any kind of funding that would give students what they need inside of the classroom.
Correct. So I would like to make a motion that we immediately reduce it to 10%, and we can still look at the other 5%. Cipriano, if you still want, but I would like to get this done now.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So can we talk about, we probably don't want to. So the study on the magnet, we can get to that because there's many different avenues to look at. Rancho Minerva 8-period schedule for the middle school.
So there were 3 additional positions added back into the budget this year to maintain the master schedule.
So we can't do 8-period for our high schools, but we've had 8-period at middle schools. Has that always been?
That's because the number of students per teacher is higher than the number of students at the high school level. High school is 165, and middle school is 190.
Right.
Which schools have 8th period at the middle schools? Which ones have it?
Just Rancho Minerva.
Just the magnet middle.
Oh, this,
So there's 2. There's 2 schools, not 1.
So let's clarify, which middle school does not have 8 periods? Let's just put it that way.
Vida does not, Roosevelt does not,
Roosevelt does not, and Vida.
and Madison does not.
Wait, you're saying Vida does?
No.
Vida does not, Roosevelt does not, and Madison does not.
With the funding for Rancho Minerva Middle School, is that funding allocated because we have a high population of unduplicated students at that site? Do they warrant that money based on their student population?
Well, Rancho Minerva does have, of the 5 middle schools, Rancho Minerva does have the highest number of unduplicated students, if that's your question. The question is that the $300,000 we used, did we use supplemental concentration funds for that?
That decision was made the end of last year, and I believe it's not supplemental concentration because it's not in the blueprint.
So to answer your question, the money that goes to the schools that have high needs comes to us in the form of supplemental concentration, which goes to the LCAP development process. I lead that process. This particular, the 3 additional teachers that are here were put in outside of the local control accountability process, so they're not represented in the supplemental concentration funding at this point in time.
So I would like to investigate whether or not the 8th period at Rancho Minerva Middle School, is it reaping the type of benefits that we need to see at Vista Unified? And if not, then perhaps we need to relook at what services we're providing to the students so that we get the benefits, the desired outcomes that we want.
Does anyone know if this was board approved, and if so, when was it?
The extra teachers?
For Rancho Minerva to have 8, period.
So this was one of the line items that was included on that $5 million list of items that were added back in the budget. I believe it was included in Donna's presentation in one of the 2 June meetings. So that was one of the challenges for 1920 is the $12 million was reduced, but then there was $5 million additional cost. Some of it was based on ADA enrollment stuck in column. Some of it was additional positions put into the budget. There's the music teacher. There were, I think, 3 positions at RBV. There was 3 positions at RMS. And there was one other site that had additional positions that were added during budget development.
Yeah, I think we should take it to the community of Rancho Minerva Middle School from school site council, their ELAC committees, the teachers, so they can evaluate whether or not that's the direction they want to go, and then see if we can sustain it, because it is the highest need middle school. And we need to provide the proper supports for that school. And it may not appear as an 8th period day. It may be that we give the kids enrichment and interventions in other ways, but we need to continue giving supports to that school. We just have to relook at whether it's gonna it'll translate into 8th period or other interventions that are needed.
Hey, Matt, am I incorrect in this? Is that 8-period schedule in Rancho Minerva had to do with personalized learning and some elements of that?
No, it did not. As a matter of fact, that schedule was developed before we started personalized learning. It was intended, I know this because my sons went to that school, all 3 of them, and they developed that so that we would have a double block, or the students would have a double block in English language arts and mathematics. Right. And that's what caused that.
Well, that's part of the reason when you see an 8-period day there is that teachers teach the same group of students, so you don't need additional teachers. Where we're talking about the high schools, where 8-period teachers, kids are going to have 8 different teachers. At the middle school, they don't have 8 different teachers.
We needed to add teachers to that school, Rich, last year. Well, not as many.
I think the best thing for us to do at this point with regard to Rancho Minerva is Dr. Stites and I will get some clarification back to you, because I think there's 2 points on the table right now. One is just the clarification of the periods themselves, and the second is the clarification of the 3 additional staff members. And we can bring that information back to you so you guys have a clearer picture of that. And again, honestly, I was not part of the decision to add the 3 teachers, so I want to make sure we have some of the facts so I can bring it back to you.
Okay, staggered times.
So this is actually, the question came up earlier about start times and the bus study. And so what this $240,000 reflects is a reduction of 3 routes. Each route costs the district $80,000. But in order to accomplish eliminating these routes, you would essentially have to stagger your start times between each grade span, 45 to ideally 1 hour apart, because they have, by the time they pick up the students and come back to the next site, otherwise they would continuously be late. And so ideally closer to 1 hour separation, minimum 45 minutes between the start times.
So we did this for years and years and years and years. Us being on the same schedule is quite new in the history of the district. But if it saves us money, and I think it gives our bus drivers a little bit more, and maybe we can even get more kids to school without conflict, is what my opinion is, you guys. I think it's worth looking into. I don't know if we want to do it in the middle of the year after Christmas break, or I think that would be a total nightmare, but next year.
You'd have to give parents some notice.
Next year is good.
Next year,
because
not this year.
daycare is already, situated for families, in my opinion.
So you guys back there, you need to start lobbying for if you want to be in early school or late school. We know how that important that is. Salaries, again, is that back to the same point we were talking about, or was it more
the next 2 items
specific?
we're looking at it for this year and next year.
What salaries can we look into, perhaps putting out a survey for early retirement incentives? Would that save our district more money in 2021?
So there are a few different ways you can structure something like that. So we just did a SERP. A SERP, in order to achieve those savings, it takes 5 years. So you wouldn't want to do a SERP back to back, but you could do early retirement incentives. And so there's a couple different ways. How I've done it in my previous districts, you could do an early tell. So, a dollar amount if you notify the district, say in January or February. The benefit of that is that we're out recruiting earlier than later. So the earlier you're out recruiting, the higher the chances are that you get those more qualified staffing. Another one that you could do is an early retirement incentive, and so we would have to do the analysis of what folks are on average, what folks would be retiring out at, and what's our average hiring salary, and then that difference, in order to achieve some savings for budget and get an incentive for employees to do that incentive, you'd have to then decide how much of that savings you would want to go towards the budget and how much of it would be an incentive to the employee to do that retirement. So that's just 3 examples of how districts have done early retirement incentives. Correct. Well, that if you do an early retirement incentive, you would have to negotiate impacts and effects with the union.
Right, but since it's not for the here and now, it's a little bit in the future. We don't have to really worry about it tonight. We can talk about it at the next meeting.
Yes.
Oh. So the span of control was with the other one, shift childcare staff to EES. So this is where the teen parent program comes in?
So we didn't talk about at the last meeting. We were just putting, brainstorming a list of cuts. I don't remember.
It wasn't a cut, it was a shift in the
A shift,
yeah. So
yeah.
The talk was never about eliminating
Right, it was
the
a
program.
shift,
It was the
right,
funding
but
shift.
it wasn't discussed that EES doesn't provide childcare for infants. I don't believe that we discussed that. So that's new. And I'd like to find out about the grant coming from the County Office of Ed for the Teen Parent Program and how soon that money would be earmarked, because I know our program applied for it. So can we find out ASAP about that money, please?
Is it true they don't take infants?
Is the question, you talk about educational enrichment systems? They've had infant and toddler programs before in our district. They currently don't run an infant and toddler program, but they've had them in our district.
So our infants would be, our students would still have the opportunity to attend school and their infants be taken care of, and they would be given those parent classes and everything?
If that's the direction that you go in, yes, that could happen. This is negotiable. It's important to note that.
So that with these people here that work in it currently, they wouldn't go over to, how does this work?
That's one of the reasons why it's negotiable. There's a lot of levels of complexity with that.
I need to look into that more before I make any decisions. I want our babies taken care of and our moms.
And then a question on EES, those are not our staff employees, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm with Martha. I think we need to wait and see what the grant's coming in and how much it is before we start moving things around with teen parent program.
Right, and just to clarify, the subsidies, there's no way that a minor mom is going to qualify for the state subsidies for her child care. Is that correct?
I can get you, I want to verify the information for you.
So let that be we're going to do a lot of information seeking before any decision is made. In my opinion, it was just brainstorming, but now that we have more information on it, we need to really do a deep dive into this.
Okay, psychologist. This was yours.
Yep, and it was shut down last time, so.
We didn't agree, never mind.
Same thing with continuation schools, we didn't agree.
I would like to bring something up, 19 million. I think we should have a committee of all the stakeholders, parents, community, teachers, everybody, to look at our situation with our schools and how much room we have, and to look how feasible it is to, I'm not just saying the continuation schools, I'm talking about all of our campuses. And maybe should we get a committee going on that, Matt? Or sure. So you're going to start that?
So you're asking for a committee for school consolidation?
I am. Anybody agree with that?
The FIGMAT report said we need to, and unless a miracle drops from the sky, we need a committee to look at possibilities, unfortunately.
Will we use a consultant, or will Dr. Doyle be leading these committees?
I can lead the committee. I'm sure we would have other members, Amy and others would be part of it. I wouldn't do it alone, but we can certainly start a conversation about school consolidation. We've had a committee like that in the past when we had a conversation about closing Crestview Elementary School. If you remember years ago, we went through an entire process.
You know, Amy, just as a point of reference, we did this through the bond piece. I've got some emails from some people who claim, you know, we should close this property or close that property and sell it. And that sounds like a lucrative idea, but the way the ed code functions, the first thing that would happen is a charter school would walk in there and buy it for dollars on the pennies on the dollar, because that's what the law says. So we just need to be cautious that everybody gets it, that you don't just get to sell off the property to try to solve your budget problems, and because the law doesn't permit that is a part.
Yeah, they would be able to occupy those facilities for.
Next enough.
Yeah. Yeah, we also need to look at our district facilities, because we do have aging facilities, and we spend a lot of money maintaining roofs, aging roofs and portables, and so part of that committee's analysis should be looking at repurposing some of our facilities too, because instead of maintaining these leaking, decaying, some of these portables are well aged that are not on the bond list or won't be on the bond list for a while, or not classrooms. We're still maintaining them because they are used for district purposes. So that would be part of those discussions as well for use of property.
Before we do revenues, can we just recap? And then I would like, so we're going to set up a workshop pretty quick, and since we're talking about things we can do now.
A workshop or an actual special meeting so we can take action.
Yeah, we'll do that on item 18. I'll throw some dates out, and you guys will agree to dates, because ultimately it comes down to your availability.
Okay, so when we come back, can we add, this was, okay, first I have a question. We have, okay, never mind. I can talk to you about that. I would like to bring back some information on the impact teachers, the cost. And then we just bought back a position. Well, we decided not, first we cut it, then we decided not to cut it, and then we have to cut 19 million. So I think we need to look at the instructional lead position again and talk about that. We have our, you know, our Tracy Zachary, Jana Higgs, that I think can be in charge of the training of the schools they're assigned to, which is the lead's biggest job. And does anybody else want to add anything for the list for the next meeting? Do it now or forever hold your peace.
For budget? Yeah. Anything else you want us to talk about?
Is there a possibility of expanding the preschools for the school sites that have empty classrooms and leasing it out to EES that way? Is that a form of generating revenue by leasing it out?
It's a small form of generating revenue. We actually have 3 potential expansions coming up in the spring and early fall, already on the docket.
Perhaps we can look at the neighborhoods that don't have that service right now and see if some of the sites have empty availability for expanding that. It's a win-win anyways. Kids get preschool and we provide a need to that part of the community through EES.
We can continue to do that. We have 12 preschools on 12 campuses, and so if we open up 3 more that we anticipate, that will be up to 15. So we're expanding quickly.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the list just for clarification. We're negotiating the professional development day. We are going to get some, to reduce legal, some rules or whatever, a plan. We are going to start to restructure the district, looking at the span of control. We're going to look at salaries and hiring protocol, but that's just something we're going to look at. The city thing is not an issue. We're asking for the 2 instructional days back. We're going to talk to the group, or no, you're just going to let us know if it's worth looking at that week at the holidays. And then the whole solar thing is going to get us millions of dollars. And then we're exactly. So the wheel, we were going to look at how we can start.
We're going to bring back the information on that.
Right. Well, we have the cost of the wheel. We were talking about now when things come open mid-year.
Can we just notify our annotate which ones you voted? There's 3. I would like to make sure everyone knows what was voted on to be that.
There are 3 areas that you voted on. The first one is protocols for reduced legal. Look at restructuring span of control. And on the very bottom of the same page, magnet school allocations.
And the wheel.
Well, the wheel, you asked for research, information, and bring back. You haven't voted on it. If you'd like to vote, you can, but I don't have any indication that you voted on that right now.
I make a motion to eliminate the wheel.
I think it was research, if we could do it mid-year, and then another vote would be to eliminate.
Okay, I make a motion to eliminate, or look into eliminating the wheel mid-year for this year, and then eliminating it completely for the following year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You know, I think the other thing we're going to need to take a look at is, you know, we've already mentioned this personnel, and we've already talked about the idea that teachers go with children and teachers in classrooms. And I think we're going to have to look at administrative support on our campuses that, you know, we may have to reduce that. I mean, as I go through this list, I got to about $7.3 million that's on the list right now. That's not anywhere near 19, so.
We were just doing the immediate ones tonight. This is supposed to get us out and maybe get us a head start for the other one, correct?
And then we'll be having the budget workshop committees and additional discussions and ideas and solutions.
And then we also voted on the magnet school allegations.
Mention on Ranch Minerva, both the 8-period day and the cost of the 3 teachers.
And the staggered start.
We're going to investigate the staggered start for the buses schedule. And we're going to get information on the grant for the teen parent program. And we're going to create a committee for school consolidation.
Right.
At what point do we start looking at ways or ideas to increase our revenue?
Right now.
So.
No, right now.
And we were
Right
recapping
now,
the expenses.
so if I'm going to the next list, or the next item on the list, to increase the inter-district transfer student amount, the allocation, right now it's currently what for middle school, or for magnet school?
It's 10%.
Can we look at increasing it to 15 or maybe 20 to generate more money?
I have a problem with that when kids in our district can't get into the magnet school. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem ethical to open it up to other people outside who don't live in the community. When we have kids who want to get in, particularly, you know, at middle school, it seems like it's the most difficult to get in. So that's just my take on that.
Can I invite Dr. Shagil to come up and explain if we can expand access at Vita, or what are the challenges there? Because if we can expand it, absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Vargas. So the issue, I've heard Rich ask this before, and I remember sitting in the back of the room like yelling, no, you can't, this is why. So Vita is at capacity in terms of what our magnet program is. One of the hallmark parts of our program is we have a rotation system where students go through something called our Innovation Studio, and also through public speaking, which is especially helpful for our ELD students. So with this rotation system, they come out of their design classes 1 week each quarter, and they go through. We have capacity based on the number of weeks within the school year that 9 sections per grade level can go through each quarter. So we went through an expansion with Dr. Kimball and the board's advisement 2 years ago, and that has us pushing at 10 sections per grade level, which has started to cripple the efficacy of our program. And so the reason why is school weeks often have minimum days, they have holidays, they have other things thrown in that aren't full weeks. And so we have started to rob our students of the opportunity when we've gone to these higher classes. And so what I've said before, and what I mean with my genuine heart as a 19-year employee of this district, is in order to, when you say increase Vita from where we are now, yes, you can do it, but you need to double Vita. It doesn't work to say we're going to have 100 more kids, because then the program can't fit what it was built to do. So you can double it, or you can keep it.
Sold America. That's my take. I mean, Eric, you worked at a high school of 3,500 that was a California distinguished school. I just simply cannot buy that the numbers are going to limit us and we can't provide a program for children. I mean, I just don't. My experience doesn't tell me that, and I appreciate yours does.
Mine absolutely does, and I would invite you to come look at the schedule so you could actually really understand it.
Well, you just said it. You gave us the solution.
Oh, okay, so you were saying
Oh,
double.
yeah, I don't have a problem. As I said, let's do it.
Yeah, and what I would say to doubling, so going to over 1,600, that's a disaster in the 3 most important years of a kid's life. 100%.
I was a middle school principal of 1,600, so we have what, especially when we're turning away VISTA children, we got to figure out how to get them in there.
Okay. I love you because you gave me my first job, but I disagree with you
Well, that's okay.
on the culture and support of what we need to do in middle school for kids.
I understand.
I don't think increasing your program or doubling it would be a disservice to the middle school students. Our population of middle school students now is entirely different than they were 15, 20 years ago. And they do not need to be in a school that large.
I don't know where they would come from. So you just take them from other schools in the district?
Maybe outside, it gives us an additional whatever.
Well, then that's where you would increase the priority for that group, for the inter-district transfers. That's all I was trying to do. When you bring more students in from outside the district, then you're giving money to all the other sites, not just the magnet school. But every site benefits when you increase the magnet inter-district transfers.
What I see if we do that, right, I feel like we make some of the other middle schools more homogeneous, which takes away from a culture that allows the community in the classrooms and to flourish. Like other middle schools become very high need, whether it be, you know, kids on free and reduced lunch, whether it be special ed students, whether it be English language learners. And I don't want to perpetuate a system that creates middle schools that are like, I don't know. Like for me, it seems wrong to do that. And then we have sites that are struggling. Everyone struggles. Teachers struggle. Children struggle. Families struggle.
Well, and remember, VITA was a desegregation effort too.
Well, yeah.
So the true sense of a magnet school to desegregate centrally located schools. So Washington Middle School was 98% free and reduced Latinx students. It's now 52% of that. And so the desegregation's gone, you know, and this isn't new, we've talked about this at length. But with the reductions from the 25% to 10, our free and reduced rate this year went back up 10%. Last year we were 42%, this year we're 52%.
So the reduction is good in your opinion? The reduction.
I love all kids. And so the reduction is a political financial thing. We will serve the kids that you guys serve us. If you're at, because you asked me my opinion, if going to 52% is great, I think serving all kids is great. Whoever you determine that should come through your policies, we're going to serve them whatever they are, whatever they look like, with whatever needs they come with.
And just the generation of a couple of our middle schools that ended up with significantly high poverty populations, free and reduced lunch youngsters, has nothing to do with what you did at VITA by any means. Quite honestly, I have to take ownership of this. I was on the board when that got created, before anyone else here was on the board. And
you remember, no one wanted to come in the beginning.
Well, but it was also, we developed an unintended consequence that nobody thought would happen, or nobody realized or examined it. And now we have a couple of middle schools in which we now have another problem that we've created for ourselves. So
and the history's short because it didn't become a problem until year 3. We're only in year 6.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, I just don't want this is nothing of your creation. They're affected. You know, I was on the board, and we're the ones that went along with this and created it. So you're not to be blamed for that. In fact, you get commended for running a fabulous school. I just like to see it be more fabulous.
I feel compelled to make a statement about some of our other middle schools, Roosevelt in particular and Madison. They are actually turning the corner on redefining their identity and doing great work and attracting students back to their schools. It's really incredible. I would love to have the opportunity to have those two schools come and present, because it truly is amazing what's happening there. And interestingly, my son attended Madison. Their schools are beginning to represent our entire community, and this is the first time that has ever happened. So while all 5 of our middle schools have not completely reimagined themselves and focused in attracting, we are definitely moving in that direction.
Rachel, what's the enrollment difference in the middle school level from last year to this year? Are we same or?
Very close. There's a couple that are up 20 or 30. I can get the last enrollment data.
Madison's up, and Roosevelt's moving in the direction.
Madison's up about 30. The last I checked, Rancho Minerva, it was down about 10 or 20. But I could get you the actual numbers.
Got it. And same thing, just as a.
And the magnets only decrease over the year typically because there's a district rule as of seabeds, we're not allowed to enroll anybody else off the wait list. And so we're stuck. And so kids move out. So the magnet numbers typically go down throughout the year.
So that's board policy?
That's a board decision.
Not a policy, a procedure. But one example, I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Shigela, is that we could theoretically open up admission for students outside of our district during the year, but then it would create an issue with regard to folks who are who are on the waiting list. So I would encourage us to be careful, engage the community in conversations about adjustments that would need to be made in that area.
I'm have the magnet committee who's looking at these types of questions.
Yep, and the question or the answer, the response I'd like to get back is, what is the difference in revenue from 10% to 15%?
Yes, we'll get that information for you.
I appreciate all the work that everyone has put forth in examining whether, you know, our policies with magnet schools and increasing percentages, decreasing, but it really has to be looked at, you know, through all levels, all perspectives before a decision is made on that.
When is the magnet school committee reporting to us?
In November, so November 14th, we had a we just had a conversation about it with the two co-chairs. The next Magnet School Committee meeting is coming up on October 24th, and they will have a conversation during that meeting about the presentation to make to the board. And that our anticipation was during the November 14th board meeting.
So I just want to follow up on something that Deb had said about bringing more from the outside, and then Martha, your concern about, because our own students. So I came to this position because I was at a school that was in your area, so I saw the kids that wanted to go to Vita that didn't get in year after year. And when I came here, I was like, this is wrong. Our kids need to be here first. And how dare we take kids from the outside before we take our own kids? And then I had, what do you call it? Cake in my face, pie in my face, because Cipriano came back from San Antonio, Texas, with one of the very poor failing districts. And they explained why they took such a large percentage of out-of-district students was because it brings in the incomes that you can put into the other schools to help to get them and their students the resources that they need. So it is a different way. I get what you're saying because I was there, but now I did change that a little bit because a lot of people want their home schools, and that would just be more resources to bring in. Just a thought.
Also, I've been going to the Magnet Committee meetings, and at the last one, there was is it a scattergram, is that what it's called? Which showed where the schools were and where the students were coming from that were going to the magnet schools. And believe it or not, the majority of the students are coming from the community that's right around the magnet school. So it is a magnet school community that's going there, and it's not so much others coming from different sites.
We have a ton of kids that have no idea that they applied or that their parents did something. They just think they go there.
And it is one way to generate more money by having inter-district transfers come in.
But they're at capacity and there's a waiting list, so is it a moot point? Without expansion, which can't be done, it's a moot point, I think, at least for the middle school magnets.
Right or wrong?
Well, for this year, the process is finished. Every year there's an application process. And I think that was one of the intents of the Magnet School Committee, is to bring back data, accurate data, that conveys, you know, what's happening. And I think you will appreciate the presentation you'll get in November. I think it will bring you some excellent information. We have some very dedicated people, parents, teachers, that are working hard to really dig into the Magnet program. It's a blessing that we have the programs, but as Rich pointed out, there are complexities, and we have to talk through those complexities.
Thank you. Principal Walker, did you want to add anything? You don't have to, but if you want to, since you are here.
You're here.
She asked if 10% works for you.
You know what? I think in budget crisis, we all have to give a little something. And so I'm going to take one for the team, and we're on board.
Thank you for that. Okay, so are we good? Oh, charge for transportation. We tried that before. What do you think?
You will lose ridership because they won't be able to afford it, and then you lose attendance, and then you lose revenue. And so to gain $100,000, all of the staff and efforts and angst of the families, I mean, look at Oceanside, which is what they went through. I mean, they were eliminating, not even, and they charged already. This 100,000 was based on using the same model as Oceanside. So you would have to balance, is that revenue worth potentially losing ABA? Because they, transportation is looking at the attendance of those, the daily ridership to see, and their preliminary feelings are that attendance is improving because students are able to get to school. And so having them pay, families can't afford it, then they won't ride the bus, they won't come to school. And so to save 100,000, you're going to impact your revenue. That's my initial thought.
I'm willing to cross it off.
Another idea that was brought up last year was the Saturday schools with parents and bringing back revenue for students that have missed school days. So I believe Dr. Ruggles was leading on this. Not sure if there's an update or if like we have completely removed that.
Information to you on
it. You know, having done this, my experience is it's the most effective at the high school level, and not so much as a punitive piece, but we were able to pay for our teachers to actually provide tutoring and support for, and particularly when we got to AP and IB exams, we did a lot of preparation that way. And almost, you know, any student's been absent, you can recoup that. Now, I got to be candid. I paid my attendance person a fair amount of money who worked every Saturday to make that thing work. So there is a cost associated with doing that, but there can be a fair amount of revenue recovered that way. My deal was with your counterpart, Amy, was whatever I saved, I got half. And 2 years in a row, we saved $80,000. So that was a nice benefit to the site budget.
Yeah, and we've run models similar to that at two of my other districts.
Yeah,
We've
it's
done.
just, there is some work associated with it, yeah.
Dr. Doyle, a question for as far as revenues. I know that there's 2 ballot propositions in 2020. And maybe this is a question for legal. As a board, can we support those propositions and push to get out the vote? Or is it traditionally the nature of school boards to stay out of it and let the voters decide when it comes to those propositions? Okay, thank you. So if we can get $11 billion back into California public education, would definitely help.
I just want clarification on Mission Vista. That school's not at capacity, correct? So do they adhere to the 10% out-of-district transfers?
Historically, I can give you the historical perspective. We've allowed them to add whoever's interested because we've always accepted all students from Vista. And so there's kind of a 2-tier system. We would want to make sure that we would continue to accept any student who attends a Vista school. Any additional, we would accept in, and we do. So I don't want to give you the exact number, but I can find the number.
I just want to make sure we're getting revenue for that high school. I know they've been in the news a lot for a lot of fantastic things that they're doing. And so just, you know, putting out the word, and maybe we can get more kids from other districts.
We'll get
Pendleton, Camp Pendleton.
We'll get that information. We have 5 different generals and officers from Camp Pendleton's sons and daughters are at that school as we speak.
Some enlisted kids would be good too.
I'm sure there are.
But they take them if they apply.
Why do we need officers?
Okay, On to the next one. Resolution number 2014, authorizing the issuance and sale of 2019 general obligation refunding bond in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $45 million.
So we've had a few conversations. Tim Carty was here at the last board meeting to talk about potential refunding of bonds. And he was in another board meeting this evening, so I'm going to probably not do him justice this evening. But these are what's attached to this board item are the documents, so the resolution and the preliminary offering statement. And so as far as next steps, if the board chooses to look at the refunding possibility, Tim had mentioned $2.5 million potential savings, which generated about $44 per taxpayer dollar. No impact to the district, no benefit, no hurt to the district. Next steps would be that the district would meet with the credit rating agency. We've got it scheduled for next week, Standard & Poor. We would, to meet over our credit rating, depending on the outcome of that assessment, our underwriters would then do a financial analysis, look at market conditions. At any point, if it looks like the interest rates are not as favorable, I think Tim had talked about if it gets to be 1.5 million, that would be when we would stop those refi efforts, because at that point it's not cost effective, cost beneficial. And so these are just the formal documents to begin that formal effort.
I move we approve item 16I.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, summary of compensation and superintendent employee agreement, approval of superintendent employment agreement. The Brown Act requires the governing board, prior to taking final action on an employment agreement, to orally report a summary of a recommendation for the salary schedule, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits for local agency executives. The superintendent is a local agency executive, and a proposed contract is before us this evening, and his proposed contract. So you're a local agency executive. Okay. The proposed contract will run from October 17th, 2019 through June 30th, 2023. The superintendent's base salary will be $260,000. The superintendent will receive the same health and welfare benefits package that is provided to the other certificated management employees at an annual cost to the district of unknown. Other fringe benefits include statutory employer contributions toward the California State Retirement System, post-retirement health benefits, 12 sick days per year, 24 vacation days per year, reimbursement for actual and necessary expenses incurred within the scope of employment, including mileage, reimbursement for travel in a personal vehicle while conducting district business, and payment of the superintendent's annual dues and other required fees for participation in the Association of California School Administrators, the American Academy of School Administrators, and other membership dues as approved by the board at the cost not to exceed $1,000. The contract and the separation agreement will be available within 24 hours for anybody wishing to view them.
I move to approve.
I second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Continuation, is there any, no, there's nobody else. Okay, board business. So we have some dates. Available dates. You guys get out your calendars.
Okay, so before we start, there's 3 key sets of meetings that we're proposing with these dates, and I just want to make sure you're clear so that I can get direction from you as we work with staff. The first set of dates would be the special board meeting dates and/or board workshops. So we can talk about that in a moment. The other set of dates for you to be aware of is that you've directed me to work with staff to have public forums. And so I would be setting those dates, but I wanted to make you aware of that because the idea then would that we would be bringing back information we gather from the public forums to inform your work as you work through the budget so that we fully engage the public in conversations about your budget and potential budget reductions. And then the third set of dates, you would be directing me to work with staff to set up dates for the PLA work group or the negotiation group. And I will work with those in-house, but I wanted to let you know those are 3 key sets of meetings that will take place in the next month and a half. So with that, we worked with Chris to come up with some potential dates that I'd like to throw out there. We're not tied to these, but these seem to work with our district calendar. So the first date potentially for the board to have a special meeting would be October 29th. That's a Tuesday, potentially at 5 p.m. Another option is November 4th. That's a Monday at 5:30 p.m. Another option is November 5th, which is a Tuesday at 6 p.m. Or November 6th, it's a Wednesday. Or November 7th. Keep in mind that we have our next regularly scheduled board meeting on November 14th.
Okay, so we say special meetings and workshops, however, we want to be able to vote. So I think that would be, that falls under that. Okay.
I can't do the 27th or November 7th.
The 29th.
29th.
So you have the 4th, 5th, and 6th to work with.
No, I can tell you the Saturday. So I won't be back until, the first meeting I could do is November 4th. After this one. I'm going to be off to 4th, 5th, and 6th. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Can you repeat that? You can't use the 4th unless you get after 7:30 or before 3 o'clock.
What about the 5th?
Just on the 4th,
So the 5th?
I'm fine with the 5th and 6th.
I would say if we could do Monday, the 4th at 7:30 and come back the 6th so we give staff enough time to make sure they can research and get back numbers. Otherwise, if we do back-to-back, I believe it's going to be a lot harder for Amy to sleep.
So potentially the 4th at 7:30, so it doesn't interfere with VTA's concerns, and then coming back on the 6th at 6:30 p.m.
I would, if we could do it at 5.
At 5?
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm gonna look over to Amy. Amy, does the 4th at 7:30 p.m. work for you? You'll be in Hawaii that day?
I'll call in.
Call in.
From Hawaii. From Hawaii.
Are you going to be in Hawaii?
Oh.
So we have the 4th at 7:30 and the 6th at 5 p.m. Go ahead. 7 o'clock is okay? Okay, so we could be 7 more. 6:30 is better for the teacher in the room. 6:30 is better. 4th and 5 o'clock at November 6th, and we'll send out a reminder.
Okay.
And and then.
I need to make a clarification. Dr. Stites reminded me. I gave you the wrong information, Martha. The situation with the change of the start time for the high schools I mentioned was started in 2026. That was incorrect. 2026 is the start date of the potential change for mathematics for the UC system. My apology. It's actually 2022.
That's what I thought.
So my fault. I apologize.
So just to consider that as we go forward with the MOU. Yes, yes. Changes. No, we're not done. What about board members' comments?
Sorry, I thought that's what we just did, and Matt took the show.
All right, so I've been busy attending conferences. I went to NALEO, an emergency response management conference. So I want to collaborate with district, hopefully our new employee that we're going to hire for safety, and make sure that we are in sync with the city of Vista and the county officials for emergency response. It's important that we do that work, so I look forward to having those conversations and being part of that. I know we have Council Member Contreras here tonight, and I want to be in contact with the city manager and with our person who's going to be in charge of safety to get our ducks in a line for that. So I look forward to that work. And then at that conference, we had a presentation on the census 2020. And one thing that I learned that day is that the most undercounted demographic in the census are Latino children under the age of 5. So I'm looking forward to getting the word out to the community with our, hopefully, collaborating both with the census and then our FACE network to get the word out about the count and making sure that every child in VUSD is counted. So it's really important for allocations, for money and support staff and everything. So I just want the word out there. I want a presentation at the next, if not the next school board meeting, the one after that.
On the census or on the emergency response? The
census.
Okay.
Yeah.
The census will have final report in December.
A final report from who?
For census day. We'll work on those efforts throughout the month of November, and we don't report that until December.
You're talking about CBEDS. I think she's talking about a different
So I'm
topic,
talking
the
about
national
something
census.
different.
Oh, is that
National census.
Sorry.
Yeah. April 2020.
And if we could include some information on our newsletter so that our community members, and I know that's coming out in a week and a half. Version number 2. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate that, and I'm confident that our community members appreciate the communication. And I know that during public comment we have a lot of good feedback and input, but there's also a lot happening in our district, and we want to make sure we get the word out.
Anyone else have a comment?
We're done.